The Jake Asman Show will begin shortly. Thanks to all these great Patreon members who help support the show. Get your super chats ready. Jake will be here in just a moment. If you love the New York Jets, this is the place to be. And now, the Jake Asman Show.
What can the Jets do to turn things around? What can Aaron Glenn do to restore some faith? He's the man for the job. We'll talk about that and much more when Robby Sabo joins us in his weekly spot on the show. It is the Jake Asman Show. It's raffle day. Let's hit it and get it started.
What did you think of the offensive play call in the last two games?
That's a good question.
How much worse can it get for Aaron Glenn's Jets team? Can he salvage this season and give us something to be excited about? Every step of the journey, the Jake Asman Show will have you covered, breaking down all the storylines, every game, and everything in between. Please subscribe and hit the like button below. Super Chats, baby. Cut the line. The Jake Asman Show starts right now. Here we go, here on a Tuesday. Welcome in, everybody. Before we say hello to our guy, Robby Sabo, reminder, our first and, let's be real, likely only watch party for the Jets this year is this Sunday. So I know the Jets don't have a win, but the Asmaniacs, we always win. It's free to attend. You get a beer if you're wearing Jets or any Jake Asman Show merch. We'll have a great raffle at halftime for a bunch of signed items like a framed Breece Hall jersey, a Wayne Corbett signed football. I'm going to add a second Corbett football to that, by the way, so there'll be two up for grabs, plus a signed Kevin Mawai jersey, and I added a signed Joe Klecko photo. So great prizes at halftime. Joe Beningo will be there. Frankie V from U Stadium will be there. You get a free beer again if you're wearing Jets or Asmaniac merch. Click the RSVP button in the description and make sure you RSVP. Show up. It's right next to Penn Station, Goldies Tavern. Great food, great drinks, and we're going to have a lot of fun, I promise, win or lose. With that, let's say hello right now to the guy who joins us every single Tuesday at this time. He's got the best hair on the New York Jets beat. Ladies and gentlemen, Robby Sabo of Jets X Factor. Hello, Mr. Sabo.
What's up, Jake? Asmaniacs, how's the mood on this Tuesday? Is it peachy?
I think there's still some anger, right? But there definitely is a lot more apathy than there's been. And just being in that building on Sunday, Robby, that was the worst environment for any Jets game I've been to, maybe ever. Like, it was really depressing. I remember Zach Wilson's rookie year, 2021. They played the Jaguars. It was a cold December day, and it might have been, 65, 70% full, if that.
Barrios had a big game. Yeah.
He had the kickoff return.
Yes.
Zach had this great run, but there was energy in the building. It's like, hey, we're watching a young quarterback. Let's see him try and get better. They actually won. So, like, there actually was some passion from the fans then. Like, that game on Sunday was just depressing. When you don't score touchdowns, when you don't give any fans reasons to get excited. I mean, that place sounded like a morgue. So that was really tough being there, but it was great to connect with a lot of my listeners beforehand. And by the way, if you're a channel member or a Patreon member, Gator made an epic recap video from our day at MetLife. So check that out. But again, thanks to everyone who showed up. But that was depressing, man. That was not any fun.
Yeah, to pour salt in the wound, I was disappointed because when I got there, I started walking towards the Asmaniac tailgate and quickly realized it was on the other side of the stadium, and I just got there too late. So could not hang out with the Asmaniacs. I think Beningo was there, right? A bunch of other people. So that really killed me. But, in terms of the game, it's the same old stuff, and it's the same stuff, honestly, the same pattern everybody is used to. For what, the last 5 years at least, even more. It's the Jets that they're not in the modern league. They don't understand what it's all about. They still live in the past when they're looking for candidates, and because of that, they always get a guy who just doesn't put his team in position to have the same advantages other teams have across the league. I think it starts there. I think that has to be the mindset.
When you look at specifically what you were referring to there, what does that mean for those who aren't as in tune as what you're specifically talking to from like a strategy standpoint?
Okay. People get confused on this, and yes, there's an advantage to having an offensive guy who's atop the food chain on the sideline, no question. And it's innate because the offensive guy, if he's calling the plays, especially, that is priority number one. And everything off of that, defense, special teams, it trickles underneath. And in today's league, physicality, we're not going to see another Ronnie Lott ever again. We're not going to see another Jack Tatum. These guys aren't coming. It's a completely different league where physicality is down. And, think about it from a fundamental perspective when you're playing football. Randomness happens when physicality is ramped up, in my opinion. And with the rules, the concussion rules, the want to score points and throw the ball rules, it's decreased that randomness, which means speed is more predictable, which means it's a strategist's dream. You could move the chessboard pieces around the chessboard that much easier. When you look at Vrabel and Tomlin and guys like that, McDermott, no, it doesn't have to be an offensive guy. It surely helps, but it doesn't have to be. But the guy at the top, like a Vrabel, needs to understand that league. And he does because he brought in McDaniels, who's an excellent all-time offensive coordinator. Say what you want about him as head coach. He is that. And it's about in-game management stuff. When you hear Glenn at the end of the game 2 weeks ago, not know what the distance was on the Folk game winner, potential game winner, 65, 68 yards. That's a cue right there that he's not on the ball in terms of in-game strategy. And when you watch Ben Johnson at the end of the games, you see Caleb Williams doing things that a 10-year vet would do in crunch time on a game-winning drive, sliding in bounds instead of going out of bounds, calling the perfect plays, zone pitches, zone tosses to get the defense to stretch out so Swift could cut it up and stay in bounds. And that communication from the sideline to the headset is so vital, and the Jets just don't have that right now. I think that's the best way I could describe it in terms of strategists. Even I think you said it last time I was on. The Jets were looking for a leader, a culture setter, is what Tannenbaum announced or told you. That's the wrong way to go about it. Culture, leader, accountability, physicality, that stuff's still important, sure, but it pales in comparison. There's only one way to go about it. You got to be a strategist.
When you look at that game Sunday, I mean, you already said, it's more of the same. What went wrong with the offense from what you saw? How much of it is on the quarterback? How much of it is on the play caller? How much of it is on the personnel? I'm sure you're going to say it's a little bit of everything, but when you watch back this game and you're there seeing it in real time, what is going through your mind as you watch a team in 2025 for the second week in a row fail to score a touchdown, not scoring a touchdown in the first half of a game since week one, not scoring a touchdown that's not in garbage time since week 4 against Miami when they were trailing 17-3 and Fields made a great play just scrambling. This is as bad of offensive ineptitude as we've seen. And we went through the Zach Wilson era with this team.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Asmaniacs wanted to hang me when I said Fields is Zach Wilson if you take away his legs in August. Yep. And that is a major problem. Now, earlier in the season, I liked a lot what I saw from Engstrand and Hayden, and I'm still not off that boat officially, but it's incredibly tough. Like, in other words, you can't praise either guy, especially Engstrand right now. It's impossible based on what you see. But it's tough to evaluate at the same time because Fields just he's not in rhythm. He doesn't take chances. He doesn't throw the ball. He has zero confidence. And when you hear Glenn, the guy at the top of the food chain after the game, talking about not wanting to throw interceptions in a way that it is so conservative in terms of nature, in terms of the way you think about it, it's no wonder why. Like Fields isn't, a great pocket passer as it is, yet he's deathly afraid to make a mistake. That can't happen. And you look at the Giants, brutal loss to Denver. But guess what? I heard Francesa say this, so shout out to Mikey, and I 100% agree with him. The reason Dart was able to make that last drive and take the lead was because Dable and the Giants are allowing him to play aggressively and make mistakes. And, whether it was Saleh, whether it's Glenn right now, they just don't do that. They think it in terms of an outdated type head coaching strategy, and you just can't do that today.
It's interesting because as you're talking about like the disadvantages the Jets seemingly are at, I started thinking about this last night. Like the Jets never feel like they are capable of out coaching anyone, where like they can only win
Yeah.
if they just out talent someone. And
Yes.
there's some talent on
And
the
matchups
team,
too.
right?
If they get a good matchup. Yeah.
But like not enough to like outright win. And that's where coaching comes in, right? And I keep coming back to what Glenn said a lot in the offseason. And you were at some of these media availabilities where when talking about Fields, there was like an arrogance to how they were going to coach him up and they were going to be able to get more out of him than his previous coaches in either Pittsburgh or Chicago were able to get out of him. And I'm thinking to myself, he was 4-2 last year. Like, who are you to try and belittle Mike Tomlin and the Steelers staff? And now you've benched him after giving him $30 million guaranteed. And I just think that's a major red flag when, you know, we're supposed to be making players better, because the Jets didn't exactly go out there this offseason and add a bunch of big names that you know are really good. They basically banked on their ability to coach guys up, and they have failed tremendously through the first 7 weeks of the year. And then I saw this tweet yesterday from Connor Hughes of SNY. And I think he's kind of alluding to what you're talking about here, right? The Jets are never at a tactical advantage versus the competition. Another example, down wide receivers. They don't get creative with Breece Hall and use Davis out of the backfield. Concerns continue to mount with things that just don't make sense, and words and actions don't align. And this is in response to a tweet that Zach Rosenblatt had, Robbie, about how, hey, they said all summer they were going to use Breece Hall as a weapon, you know, lined up as a receiver. He's had 3 total targets the last 2 games, and they knew all week going into this one that Garrett Wilson wasn't going to play, and we saw no creativity, nothing that would point to any sort of like attempt to do things differently, knowing you're going to be outmanned in all these games without Garrett on the outside.
The passing concepts are really elementary. It's not anything mind-blowing. It's the most elementary passing concepts across the league. The Fields, what was it, 40-something yard touchdown to Garrett Wilson in week 1 against Pitt. Yankee concepts, it's elementary. It works, but it's elementary, and why is the question. Why is it so elementary? It's because I think they understand, or they understood, who their quarterback was. And it can't be more complex than that. Now, you go into week 1 where there's no tape on their offense. Pittsburgh comes into it not playing their guys in August, and they come into it playing it like it's a zone read RPO college team. You know, Jets have some success. Once that tape is on, once that game is on tape and the whole league sees it, I mean, McDermott and Buffalo laughed at it. They guessed every single which way. And, you know, you see Tyrod come in week 3, so they have to rein it back a little bit. Fields gets hurt, the concussions, and they just have not even come close to adding on to that week 1 RPO zone read performance. That's not to say they're not running that stuff. They are. It's just the defense is playing it in a way that is so disrespectful. They're committing guys to the edge and Fields off the edge where he has no choice but to hand it off. He has no choice but to do certain things. And it looks like regular plays. So they're still trying it. They don't have the quarterback, honestly. So it's, you know, to your point with what Glenn was doing, he was brash. Everyone's saying that's his downfall. He was brash, so he put it on. Yeah, that's part of it. But listen, if you know what you're doing and you're right for the job, it wouldn't matter.
Right, if they're winning games, we wouldn't care what he says in these pressers now, in contrast to what he was previously saying.
No one would give a damn. And I know I said this too back when all this was happening. Fields is a guy. He's a defensive mind's dream. Because in Detroit, when Glenn was the DC, Fields was in the division. Glenn calls these plays. They 3rd and 12. You do a great job. You cover everyone perfectly. 2-man. And then Fields scampers for 20 yards and breaks your back on a broken play. That sticks in a defensive guy's mind. Like, oh man, that guy is special. That guy is special. And I think that was one of the mistakes he made in terms of going too far with that idea, as opposed to looking across the league. And when you look across the league, in 2025, the average yards per completion is 10.7. That is the lowest in the history of the NFL. The 4th next lowest, all the last 4 years. 10.7, 10.9, 10.9, 10.9, 11. The last 5 years, 5 lowest yards per completion. So what does that tell you? Short passing game dominates. Fields has a slow release. The guy you ran out of town has one of the quickest releases of all time. People want to kick him and call him a game manager, but guess what? That game manager kind of fits the NFL today. You can't touch him, so you could play as an old guy and short passing game all day. So I think Glenn, kind of steered himself wrong in that regard.
Let's talk about the upcoming week in regards to the quarterback situation. This was Aaron Glenn yesterday being asked who his quarterback is Sunday against Cincinnati.
Where are you at in terms of the quarterback decision?
Well, that's something that, I want to continue to look at. Again, it's early on Monday, so I said this yesterday that there's a lot of thought that goes into that. For me personally, and then being able to get with the staff, and then just being able to ask other coaches that have been in the situation, how would they handle that? So I'm not running away from the question at all, Rich. The thing is, I want to make sure that I make the right decision, and I don't want to make rash decisions either, So I just want to make sure when the decision is made, it'll be the right one, and you guys will know that real soon.
Let's be clear. He needs to start Tyrod Taylor, and I'm not here to try and tell any Jet fan out there that that's going to make this huge difference, but I think you risk losing the locker room if you don't start Tyrod Taylor. I think you need to give him a full week to prepare. Let him go out there and start. It's the last game before the bye. Start getting Brady Cook ready after the bye if you're 0-8 because he's going to play at some point. But I think he would risk losing the locker room if he doesn't start Tyrod. And that's, once again, not telling you that Tyrod's this great quarterback, but you could run your offense with Tyrod. He's not going to sit there and just not throw the ball downfield. He'll give his receivers and tight ends a chance to at least make plays. He'll throw some picks as we saw Sunday, but I'll live with that. I think Fields, he's played long enough. They have not scored a first half touchdown since week 1. Give Tyrod an opportunity with a full week of prep to not have to go into the game cold. If he starts Fields and he stinks again, I think you need to start Tyrod Taylor.
Agreed. I agreed with everything you said. You have to. Two things. The first, all I ask from a head coach is if you're going to be as brash as you were in the offseason in terms of what you say you think is right, do it in the bad times too. And he's not doing that. He's slow playing it and saying, I got to talk to everyone. I mean, you're the head man. You could make the call right now and say so. And number two,
your coach, is Aaron Glenn calling you? Did you get a call from AG this week?
I did not, unless, sometimes I don't pick up when I don't recognize the number. So maybe it went to voicemail. And number two, when Tyrod got in there, I put a tweet out at halftime. I said, dude, the defense is sitting on everything. The DBs are sitting everything at the sticks, just blatantly sitting. Like, here you go. Like, just take it. Take the vertical. Tyrod gets in there. How many deep shots did he take right away? And it's not that like he got in there and he said, oh, I have to take a deep shot. No, it's what the defense was used to. It's how the defense was playing them, because that's how ridiculous the previous quarterback and the previous offense was in terms of not taking what the defense was giving them. So, and it was open. He just underthrew it. He just underthrew a couple and it didn't execute. But for the most part, it was open. And that goes to show you when you're talking about strategy, think about that. Think about that game in terms of why were those verticals open when Tyrod got in there? Because that's what the defense was allowing to be weak in terms of their strategy. They were loading the box. They were playing the run. They were just laughing at the idea of them going on over top. So, I think get Tyrod in there and try to work week-to-week game plans on the defense that's coming up.
We are presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. Let's take a look at the line for the Jets and the Bengals Sunday, Robbie. 6.5. The Jets nearly a touchdown underdog to a Bengals team quarterbacked by Joe Flacco. I mean,
old man Flacco. How about that old the old man shootout, the Ben Gay Bowl or whatever, icy hot bowl? I'm telling you, dude, we haven't seen anything yet in terms of the old quarterback gunslingers that are going to be in the league. I really think we're going to get to a point in time, 10 to 15 years, where a handful of teams are going to have old, aging gunslingers, and they're going to be the placeholders for the franchises that have not found the athletic, quote-unquote, quarterback yet. And this is just a prelude, I think. You just can't touch them. A spotlight shines down on any defender, a sniper, just ready and waiting for any defender who hits the quarterback. So, 2 + 2 = 4. It's coming. Old guys could play in this league at that position.
Comments, questions, super chats. They cut the line. Robby Sabo is our guest. And of course, that means that it's a Tuesday, which means our weekly raffle will be announced at the end of the show. Who's going to win a signed Joe Namath helmet, a signed Wayne Corbett football, or a signed Jermaine Johnson jersey? Since the Jets don't have a win, let's allow people to enter for all three during this stream. If you gift the membership or send a $10 super chat or higher, you'll be added to the weekly list of everyone who sent in super chats or memberships this past week. Ladies and gentlemen, a couple membership shout outs. Matt L is in for 5. Luppy is in for 5. King Lowski is in for 5. And Austrian Jets fan is in for 1. Thank you to everyone who continues to support the show. This is for you.
JETS. Yes. All right, let's go.
Thank you, Dream. Love the energy. Very appropriate for an 0-7 football team. Couple super chats here, and then I do want to try and find some silver linings, some positives that we could talk about here. As Aaron Glenn is clearly in an uphill battle to, maybe not even save his job if Woody's so, gung-ho on keeping him, but just try and give fans something to hold on to feel a little better about the direction this team is headed. Kashmir says, you think the Jets should trade for Trey Lance? No, I do not, Kashmir Black. Robbie, what say you?
No, sir. No, sir. I can't believe I'm talking to you, such a Glenn hater, as I've heard on Twitter. I mean, the mob is after you, Jake. I didn't realize this. Holy jeez.
You know what really bothers me, honestly? People
please
could
let me know. Yes.
Well, people could if you want to be a Glenn supporter, a Glenn truther, you want to say he could do no wrong and go after me and take personal shots at me or whatever. Fine. I'm a grown man. I'll take it. People have been calling me racist on Twitter because I've been critical of Aaron Glenn. And it's just disgusting that people could throw that term around when they don't know a thing about me, for one. And two, I'm the guy who said I wanted Brian Flores to be the coach of the candidates they spoke to. They didn't speak to Mike McCarthy, who was honestly my number one if we go back. And it was never being anti-Glenn. It was you and I think we're aligned in we didn't want a first-time coach. And if they were going to do a first-time coach, not a defensive background for that first-time coach. At least try it with an offensive guy. So, it really is disgusting, the attacks I've been getting from people online who don't know a thing about me. But, that's the only thing that annoys me. People being upset about, a viral clip from the show going around. It comes with the territory when you have, 43,000 Jet fans who subscribe to the channel. It's so weak.
You talk about apathy and anger, and yes, it's really apathetic right now. But the anger comes out in terms of anonymous outlets, and what can you do? It's funny. It's hilarious. People think it actually bothers some people. What can you do? It's ridiculous. And listen, with Glenn, the criticism is beyond warranted. I forget about the 0-7 record. You can't be a head coach in this league and not know the yards of the potential game-winning field goal after the game. Impossible. People aren't putting that into perspective enough. It's insane. I mean, you cannot be confused about that.
He made the same mistake 2 consecutive games at the end of the first half. Last week in London, he admitted the following day, we should have at least thrown a Hail Mary. And he did the same thing this past game, man. And the game in London, he said, well, we knew that we were going to get the ball to start the half. So we just wanted to just go into the locker room only down 4 and reset, and we'll go from there. In this game, he did the same thing, only it was the reverse situation with who was going to get the ball. So it's just, he doesn't have a feel for the game. And look, if he's going to stick around here, if Woody's not going to fire him, if this team wins 2 or 3 games and give him another year, I hope he gets better, because if we're stuck with this for another year, it's not going to matter. They're not going to win with this guy. That's my big thing. It's we need to see improvement now, not in late December when they win 2 of their last 3 to go from number 1 in the draft to number 2 or 3. The wins need to happen right now.
Yeah. No feel for the game. You hit it on the head. And shame of it, I think he would have been a good coach in the 90s or the 80s, honestly. But it's a different world. And until the Jets realize that, listen, when there's confusion, like in London at the end of the first half, when there's that much confusion, that means the guy at the top is not on the ball. He's not on the ball whatsoever. And, the 4th and 5 decision on the opening drive, think about this. You know how deflating it is to go down the field, put yourself in field goal position, and then go for it on 4th and 5. in that situation, and I tweeted it in real time, and I said it felt pre-planned. It felt forced, as if Glenn before the game said, "Okay, I'm going to be aggressive in this game." Don't. That's the worst thing to do. You take every situation in real time. You can't pre-plan it like that. And 4th and 5, instead of getting on the board 3-0 in that situation with Folk, who's been one of your best players, Garrett Wilson's not playing, Fields is your quarterback. It's insane. He's lost. He's really lost right now.
It's unacceptable, man. 0-7 is like, it's not just that they're 0-7, it's how it looks, right? It's that they're losing games because of his decision making. They're losing games because of decisions he made with the roster. They're losing games because he has no feel for the game. And you're 1,000% right. When an NFL head coach acknowledges that he didn't know the yardage for what could have been a game-winning field goal, that tells you all you need to know about the ineptitude being displayed. And once again, it's not personal with Aaron Glenn. We all want him to be the guy if you're a Jet fan. We all love the idea of a former Jet who wanted this job being awesome and coming back and helping this team finally turn things around. But we can't blindly support Glenn and just say, oh, it's going to get better, like, and just bank on outliers. The reality is no Jet coach has ever started 0-7. The reality is no Jet coach that has had any season, right? Not his first year, he's 0-7, but no coach in franchise history has ever come back from this bad of a start. The last time they were this bad was Gase in 2020. He got fired after the year. The other so tight, and 96, he got fired after the year. So, like, that's what we're staring at right now. It's brutal.
Right. You know, what's funny? If the fans were, and the media were afforded the opportunity to listen to every word that is spoken in the mic, from coaches to the captains with the dots on each side, offense and defense, there would be so much less confusion out there. I can't even begin to tell you how much less confusion there would be out there if we were afforded the right to hear that stuff. That was a game changer, the mics. Now, it got introduced in a way, and it sparked things. It helped the offense for sure. It started with the offense first, but that combined with the rule changes has just brought us to a world where it's cookie cutter. You have to start at a certain place. Offensive strategy, pre-snap deception on both sides, chameleon-like game planning, and being on the ball in game management situations, because 30 seconds used to be no time back in the day. Now it's forever. And it's communication. It's real-time decision-making. It's smarts. And that's why it always starts with that first. The culture, the leadership, the kind of physicality, all that is secondary. It's not even up for discussion anymore.
Hey, let me acknowledge a moron. This guy, Jay Pritchett, is exactly what I'm talking about. I only found out about the stream when I saw someone making fun of this clown on Twitter. Very garbage way to represent the Jet fan base. Yeah, you only want to hear positive things about an 0-7 football team. Hey, clown face, I'm glad you found the show, but let's be honest. We really don't want you here. See ya.
Now look what you've done. No more protection from the Asmaniacs. Had to pull you out of the chat and cast you down with the sodomites. Some time in here will feel like you've been run over by the lane train. You understand me? You catch my drift? Give them another 24 hours to think about it.
Later. All right, some super chats here. Shout out to all the new people who found the show through Twitter. I mean, hopefully you're not as dumb as half my mentions right now. Robin, super chat, cuts the line. Who will Glenn call first, Robby or Jason Genius Storm? Never mind. I want to win the Joe Namath helmet. Robin, you are in for two. Do you think that Aaron Glenn should consider calling Coach Beastbreaker for some possible feedback on what to do with the starting quarterback situation this week?
Yeah, you know what? That's not a bad idea. And I have a hunch they could get the tush push rolling if he does. Give him a shout.
Coach Beast is up for it, baby. He's got the play sheet there. Plays for morons. Ready to roll.
Yeah, I saw Beast's. I didn't see the whole post game, but I saw Beast's analysis on Garrett Wilson. I did catch that.
Yeah, he had a big game Sunday.
Love you, Beast. Love you, Beast.
Big country. Robby, do you see us winning any games? If so, which ones?
Yeah, I do. They're going to win games. And
I don't think they're going 0-17.
Nah, I don't think so either. Listen, it's possible, but you just got to play the odds, and I doubt it. And listen, emotions are still a part of the game. There's no question about it. And Glenn, if he has a positive, it is on the emotional side of the coin, and maybe preparation in terms of an emotional mindset. I'm reaching here, but they could come out one day and just have the right attitude and look right, and it could work perfectly. But I think they're going to win a couple games for sure.
Ladies and gentlemen, hit the like button if you're just tuning in. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Some more super chats here. Dylan in the house. DT, Sabo, why did they abandon the run in the second half? 26 passes to just 2 runs.
Yeah, it was bad. It was bad. Not a good thing. You can't. You are who you are, and not only is Engstrand a rookie play caller, but he's having to deal with 2 different offenses. This is another thing. When Glenn wanted Fields and he's looking at Philly and who was it? Canizero, who asked the question, this is a passing league, and Glenn, pushed back on him. Who won the Super Bowl? Philly. Yeah, sure, that model can work. It hasn't worked a lot, though. Like, Philly's the first team who really did it that way and got it done. Baltimore's still trying to figure it out. And look at Baltimore. Once they had defensive issues, they fell flat on their faces. I know Lamar got hurt, but they weren't working before Lamar got hurt. So it can work, but everything has to be buttoned up. And the fact that they're going back and forth between Fields and Tyrod, not only is it rough for a rookie play caller to begin with, but now he's got to deal with 2 offenses. They're not the same offense. Like Tyrod kind of fits Fields and could do some of the same things, but they're still very different offenses. So I have a hunch, Tyrod get in there, and here's what happened. What I just talked about before, those vertical shots. The defense was playing them foolishly. So when you look at that, what are you going to do? You're going to try to go over the top. You're going to try to pass the ball. And to Engstrand's credit, I mean, if Tyrod makes some passes, they score some points. No. So generally, I agree with you. They should have ran the ball more. They got caught up in what the defense was doing. But yeah, Engstrand, we'll see.
Ladies and gentlemen, OG Jets fan, our guy Tommy is in the raffle for one. Thank you. Rick, check it in. Can we honestly consider that they actually may be tanking? Is there any possibility? What's so amazing about how bad the Jets have been? I'm not saying this is you, Rick, but there are a lot of fans, especially ones on Twitter, who come at me every day now being like, this is all according to the plan. Like, the Jets have been so inept that the only response from some trying to justify or defend what we have seen is that this is actually all intentional, that they're trying to lose football games. That's how bad they have looked. They're trying to lose games. That's the only retort by some at this point because of how god awful it's been. Think about how pathetic that is.
I give a little grace to those folks because it is so
they don't
illogical.
Have brain cells?
That, and it's so illogical that they can't get it right for so long, and they're this bad and haven't learned from the same, like making the same mistake over and over again. So it's so illogical. Like that's the hope and pray prayer answer. Yeah,
it's amazing. I mean, like it's so easy to disprove that they're not. I mean,
you take the Rodgers hit in the first year,
right? They split up the Rodgers cap hit. If they wanted the tank, they could have just went into the year with Tyrod and Brady Cook and not give just $30
million. Dude, you pivoted off of Rodgers.
Yeah.
By the way, the Rodgers thing, it starts at evaluation, a true evaluation. I think that's where everyone went wrong, Glenn included. You look at Rodgers the way he played last year. He played well. Like the results may not have been there in terms of wins, but from that position, based on what he was dealing with around him, he played well. And if you come out of it saying, he's just an average guy, then you're going to make that move where you take on $50 million in dead cap and you pay $30 million guarantees to replace him, basically $80 million. So I think it starts at evaluation. And I think that's where a lot of people went wrong. It's just coaching staff, the media, the fans. But no, they're not tanking. They're not tanking. No way.
They're just really bad. That's what's so sad. You think Aaron Glenn wants to be the first Jets coach to ever not have a win this late into his tenure? Like, come on, man. Like, it's unreal. Let's see. Bucks Fanatic has sent in a super chat. Every fan base has more on fans. Half my fan base wants Baker traded than Todd Bowles fired because we suck last night. It's wild how weird people are. Well, social media just gives everyone a microphone to just blurt out their
Detroit's-
opinions. I mean,
Detroit's
that's
D was solid last night, man. They were
you see
good.
Glenn's getting heat. I didn't even criticize him for this, but Glenn was getting some heat from people online being like, wow, the Lions defense is better without him. Look at that.
Hey, listen, he was there, so he gets credit for. See, that's people fail to realize sometimes. Like the coach, but what Ben Johnson did in Detroit is going to carry over. Like it's not. If the new guy is terrible, it's not going to change on a dime. So that's funny, and I get it because people are so pissed. But nah, you can't get on Glenn for that.
Ladies and gentlemen, the big fella checks in. I know we're talking about how awful Glenn has been, which is totally justified, but I'd like to point out Malachi Moore and AZ Thomas played great. Well, let's kind of use this super chat here from Big Fella to talk about a couple of silver linings with this football team. And look, there's not much, but if you want to point to something, I feel like at least these last two games, Steve Wilkes has saved his job.
Yeah.
Like he still has buy-in from his defense. I think Jermaine Johnson being back, that's a real leader out there. That certainly has helped. I think you give the Jets credit for the Jarvis Brownlee trade. That has seemingly really helped this defense. Malachi Moore is a positive. Like there are a couple things to point to. Give Muji credit for seemingly hitting on Armand Membu and Mason Taylor. It's certainly not enough, and we're all certainly disgusted with the 0-7 record and how it's looked. But there are some things that give you some hope. But it's just it's been tough. Another thing I could point to is Nick Folk. Getting him was great. I wish they actually could reward how good he's been by allowing him to be a part of some wins. Moving on from Morstead, I was very critical of that. Bringing in McNamara, he's been an excellent punter, so that's been encouraging. I mean, am I missing anything else? Like we already know Garrett Wilson's amazing. We already know that Quinnen Williams is really, really good. Like there's some things we already knew. I think Tippmann's been good at guard. If you want to try and find something, it's tough.
I think the O-line still gets good grades in terms of the overall season. Now the pass protection has been slipping in the past couple of weeks, but overall, I think it's been fine. And kudos to Wilkes. What he's done, like I'm looking at the first play right now. It's pre-snap deception. It's pre-snap disguise. It's games. The one caveat is this: Bryce Young is rough. Like if he was accurate on a bunch of passes, they would have did a lot more damage in that game. And Nick's the same thing. Nick's wasn't great the week before. So I want to see this defense against a much better quarterback, and then we'll gauge it from there. But yeah, dude, kudos to Wilkes and Glenn. In terms of defense, in terms of what they're trying to do, stay one step ahead, I'm seeing real effort that matches what wins. And I like that.
I mean, it's tough. Guys are still playing hard. I don't think Glenn has lost a room yet, but I do think that he needs to go to Tyrod Taylor to ensure he still has buy-in for another week. I mean, it's going to be tough. I don't think they're going to win Sunday. Obviously, they're about a touchdown underdog almost. They lose, and it's 0-8 into the bye week. That is tough.
And defensively, I'll say this. Someone get to Jamie and Sherwood and have him engage his primary read in zone, please. It's week after week where offenses, and this is generally speaking true for all linebackers across the league. It's tough to cover in space in this league with the rules, but Sherwood, he's a safety. He used to be a free safety. So he's used to roaming and following and using his eyes in the backfield on the quarterback. And he's doing that at linebacker. Someone get to him, and you have your primary read and his own match and your secondary read, and maybe even a third. When the primary read is your zone, engage, get hands on hip, get contact, and then that frees you up to use your eyes even better. He just far too many times he's guessing. And I think that's going to be a big piece of the puzzle if they can get him to do that.
Comments, questions, super chats, cut the line. Remember, we are doing the raffle at the end of the show today. So you got 3 chances to enter to win 3 signed items today. JJ signed jersey, Wayne Corbett signed football, Joe Namath signed helmet. Those are the top prizes in our raffle. Reminder, we have a watch party on Sunday. Jets Bengals. Will it be Tyrod or Justin Fields against Joe Flacco? RSVP, if you're coming, Beningo will be there, and it's going to be a lot of fun, win or lose. Let me shout out our guy, Knob Craft. He has gifted 5 channel memberships. Oh, yeah.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now, Knob Craft goes by many names. Sometimes he goes by Knob. Sometimes he goes by Mr. Gorilla Salad. But this is what he actually looks like in real life.
Oh, dude,
What a photo.
He could do some damage, man.
He is a handsome son of a gun.
Like
and
the hair. Like the hair. Right? It's not bad.
Some of the photos that I've been showing, I want to give a huge shout out to our guy Steve. He was the photographer at the event on Sunday with Tailgate Joe. CapturedThis.pro is Steve's website. You can follow him on Instagram as well. We tagged him on our social media post. Steve Schwam did a great job capturing some epic moments from our annual Tailgate Sunday at MetLife. Let's see. This one is from Hold the Line. Love you, Jake. Don't listen to the race baiters. Everyone's a racist to some people. Been a while. We'll call in soon. Charlie the dog groomer. Thank you. Hold the line. Our guy King Lowski in the house says there's absolutely nothing racist about Jake Hasman, and I'm a black man saying this. Jets, 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 Jets. It's just amazing, right? If like everything has got to be turned into like racial with people. Like it's just sad that we live in that type of society where that happens. And it's like people are just so stupid. Like did you ever hear my commentary about Adam Gase when he was the Jet coach? Like,
yeah.
Oh my God.
It's a crazy world, man. It really is. It's insane.
Thank you, Kiklowski. You're the best. Matt says Beast was busy getting catfished again on Sunday instead of watching the game. Who's up for an Asmaniac meetup in Nashville next year? I think there's a strong chance that will be the city for the meetup because the Jets are projected to play an AFC South team on the road. And unless Houston completely falls apart, it's likely going to be last place Jets, last place Titans being matched up there. It just depends on the date for that game. But Nashville, I feel like year round is a great venue to do a road trip. But just we don't want to do it too late in the year because then the Jets are out of it. Like the best time to do a Jet road trip is what we did this year in Tampa, where it was week 3.
True. Houston, yeah. What are they? 2-4 now? Things aren't going great for them. I don't know. I don't know what to think of them right now. D'Amico. I mean, I like D'Amico, defensive-minded head coach. Stroud.
It's very similar to Saleh if you look at what's happened. Only Saleh never had a quarterback. Like he's probably going to need to make another offensive coordinator change, which will be 3 in 3 years.
Yeah, it's tough. It really is tough. Listen, I'm a defensive coach. Yeah, I played defense my whole life. It kills me to have to say these things about what the NFL is, what this sport is. But it's reality. Like if you don't face reality and you're stubborn, you're just an asshole. So don't be an asshole. Like face reality. It is what it is.
It's crazy, man. Ace writes in, my return to the Shadow Realm for another Joe Flacco comment. Another chance lost. Joe Flacco, man. He's gonna light it up Sunday.
He can still throw. He still throws as good as he ever did. The anticipation. I swear to God, he threw a 12 to 15 yard out route to Chase where he released the ball on Monday and it arrived on Thursday. The anticipation, he threw it in touch. It was absurd. He could still throw the ball. No question about it.
Burkinator, thank you for the super chat. We got you down for 2 raffle tickets with this. I'll hold off on the Steve Wilkes safe button for now. We have played 2 not wonderful offenses back to back. Pass rush hasn't been great. And against Cincy this week, going to be rough potentially. When I say Steve Wilkes saved his job, I mean he saved it for now. I think there was a real chance that if the defense remained as historically bad as they were to start the year, Robbie, Glenn might have been faced with no choice but to demote him or quietly take over play call. You know what I mean? Like Wilkes having 2 games in a row where the defense allowed 13 points. I think that buys him some time here. I don't think he's going to get fired, with a bad performance Sunday after the bye. Like, whereas if this kept getting worse, they might have been forced at the bye week to make some sort of change. Yeah,
it's low on the totem pole right now, I would say. That it's more so the quarterback, the personnel decisions. It's bad when the conversation always goes back to the root, the high level stuff. And I think that's where we're at right now. It's tough to talk about, and I'm sure you feel the same way. It's tough to talk about the details because the details could be right on point, but if the root is always wrong, it doesn't matter.
Bucks Fanatic, who's one of our longtime listeners, even though he's not even a Jets fan, he just loves the community. Bucks Fanatic gifting 5 for this wonderful community, Mr. Bucks Fanatic. I'll play you this because it did happen, I guess, against your team. Bino Super Chat says, Jacob, I have listened to other shows. It's clear that people are delusional on Aaron Glenn, and some of the takes are completely out of touch. Keep being you. I will, Bino. Appreciate it. Coop says, Jake, a racist question mark. People are weird. Jake has done more for minorities than our president. What does that mean? Jake is for the Jets people. Bad freaking buddy. Joe, bad buddy, Beningo. That I could play this.
What is this? Who is this guy? Bad freaking buddy. What is that?
You enjoyed the Joe B segment yesterday. You texted me during it.
Yeah. He cracks me up. Oh, as I listened to like the first 5-10 minutes of his the Pain podcast before hopping on today. And Joe, he's right in a lot of things. He really is. The Rex Ryan thing, I completely disagree with him. Gruden, I think he's on Gruden now. Gruden would be in the mix for me, but I would look elsewhere first.
I would still try and see if Mike McCarthy would take this job.
McCarthy's in the Kingsbury right now. Before thinking any deeper, Kingsbury would probably be my number one choice. I would sell him on the talent. I would say pick your quarterback and let's go. He has, I know it wasn't always peaches and cream in Arizona, but there's enough there to suggest in terms of what he's done with Jaden Daniels in Washington that he gets it. He gets it. I'd ask him what his defensive plan would be in terms of DC. So I think he would be the default right now. Joe Brady would be up there. McCarthy would be up there for sure. The Green Bay defensive coordinator, he's in the mix. So I think those are the top guys right now.
I mean, Kingsbury between college and the NFL is Coach Mahomes, Baker, Kyler, Jaden Daniels. Like, if you have the first pick in the draft, maybe Cliff is not the guy to eventually get you over the top. But like, I think Jet fans need to not look at it like that. Let's look at it like we're in hell right now. How do we get out of it? How do we go from the biggest joke in sports to a respectable franchise and the playoff drought? If Cliff could do that, he's made the playoffs with Kyler when he was the Cardinals coach. All of a sudden, you're in position to not be looked at as a joke. And then if you have a franchise quarterback, all of a sudden you could find a coach that would want to be here, a la Harbaugh, leaving Michigan to go coach Herbert. Herbert had already made the playoffs at that point. He just needed that coach to be able to take that next step. That's like down the line for the Jets right now. Like, forget like the Super Bowl, get out of hell. You need to have a winning season. You haven't done that in a decade.
See, that's the thing. Like, stop romanticizing the plan. Rodgers would have sucked with Rodgers anyway. What's the point? No, it's not about that. It's about fielding the best possible roster. I get it. If it would have cost nothing to dump Rodgers or $10 million, it's a no-brainer. You dump him and you move on and you save the cap. But we romanticize the plan too much in terms of, it's going to work out. Oh, Glenn's a former Jet. It just makes sense. He's the guy to save us. Oh, Rex, the nostalgia. Mike Tannenbaum, the nostalgia kicked in with the 33rd team as well. These moves, you got to objectively evaluate it instead of letting that personal nostalgia or certain items kind of slant it to think, finally, this is going to be the answer. Look at Washington. Dan Quinn at head coach. Are we going to pretend that Kingsbury, his value in terms of how they played last year, isn't that important or isn't close to Quinn? In other words, the OC of a team in terms of when you have a defensive coach is very, very important. Look at Dan Campbell. I still say Dan Campbell wouldn't have worked in Detroit if he kept Lynn and didn't fire him and hired Ben Johnson, didn't recognize Ben Johnson. But to his credit, he recognized Ben Johnson. And Ben Johnson signals, he got promoted in the second year and signaled the turnaround. He really did. Track it. So these OCs are really important. I think Kingsbury, there's enough there that he would be my number one guy right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, some more super chats here. A lot of people engaged in the chat today, which is great. And you would have no idea this football team is 0-7. C writes in, question for Sabo, is Simpson or Mendoza QB1 at the moment? Sorry for draft talk in October. This team leaves me no choice. I already texted Blewett, who's coming on with me today at 4 for the film review.
Yes.
I already said next week during the bye, let's do some quarterback breakdowns. We're starting.
Nice. I was thinking about this last night, and I think right now, I haven't dug into it at all, but I think right now, Mendoza. It's
more starts, right? I think that's what you're going to say.
That when watching him, I like his release. It's a little, you got to watch it more, but it's a little over the top compared to some quarterbacks, like 3/4. But I like his release. he anticipates. There's more stuff on film where he anticipates. There's more evidence that he lifts his team around him as opposed to other guys. And this is really important. When you watch him speak in interviews, he's really comfortable. He's comfortable in his own skin. And when you watch other guys like Simpson, I don't know. I got to look at a lot more. No pun intended. But when you look at Simpson, I don't know. I got to watch more. He's up in the air. But Mendoza seems really comfortable in his own skin. So I think it's Mendoza right now.
Nothing like draft talk before Halloween.
Oh.
Jets football, baby. All part of the plan, though. That's the plan.
Get ready, Dom C.
Mike Duramo, great hire by JetX, by the way, to bring in Dom C. I mean, Dom C is going to become one of the biggest stars on the Jets interwaves this offseason.
Yeah, baby. Let's go. Draft talk.
Mike in the house. Mike Duramo says, at least if we end up with the number 1 pick, we have an asset to attract a good experience offensive mind as the next head coach. They do. The fear is Woody Johnson going to admit a mistake like Gerard Mayo did to hire Mike Vrabel? Is Woody going to be able to say, I screwed up, I'm going to own up to that screw up and fire Aaron Glenn, franchise legend, my handpicked coach, and bring in someone else? I mean, I think every Jet fan wouldn't criticize him if he did that. If it continues to look like this, it's just a matter of, will he do it? I think it'd be warranted. In fact, I would say it should happen. I don't know if it will happen, though. That's the big question.
Very up in the air. Very up in the air. And at this point in time, 0-7, forget the 0-7. It's just the decisions and
I think 0-17 is automatic. I think there's a gray area after that.
Yes, agreed. Listen, can things turn around and can they start winning games? Sure. But again, for me, the main wins and losses are important for sure when evaluating, but that's not the main thing. The main thing is, does the guy have the goods in terms of what you need at head coach in this brand new sport that so many have failed to adapt to?
Super chats, cut the line. But first, Anthony Logerato just gave himself 5 chances to win at the end of the show. A Joe Namath signed helmet, a Wayne Corbett signed football, and a Jermaine Johnson signed jersey. Mr. Logerato, who was in the building Sunday at the Asmaniac tailgate and Jets game group buy, this is for you.
For me personally, being able to ask other coaches that have been in a situation, how would they handle that?
Thank you to Gator for that one. By the way, you mentioned the 3013 before. Buffalo Jet fan had a great tweet that went viral yesterday, realizing the 3013 was actually an early power ranking.
Oh, dear God.
Would the Jets beat Ohio State, Robbie?
Yes. I'll take the serious route, yes. But have they gotten a job? Didn't they get a consultant job right after the Jets job somewhere? I don't remember.
I'm not sure. I could ask Mike on Sunday when we work together. That
I think they have, but I haven't heard news since then, to be honest. So I thought they stopped doing content too. But I haven't looked at them in a while. Haven't checked the website out.
I think they did. There was like a big controversy, I think, last week. Like someone who I guess used to work for the 3013 went on a show and was asked like, who's on the hot seat in the NFL after Callahan got fired in Tennessee.
Yeah.
And one of the coaches he listed was Aaron Glenn. And then people were like, wow, a guy who works for the 3013 who helped hire Aaron Glenn to the Jets is saying he's on the hot seat, but the guy apparently doesn't work for the 33rd anymore. So it's
a tricky thing. Like I know you're trying to keep your content separate from the consultantship stuff, but that's a tricky thing. And
look, I give you credit. You were all over that from the beginning. So I think I debated you on that. I said, I think, they're just giving Woody some advice. I'd rather Mike and Spielman be in the room, but now Spielman works for the team too. So it's like, it doesn't look good. Let's call it.
And by the way, I don't mind Spielman being in the organization and helping out, or even Mikey T to some degree. It's just the way in which moves are made. It can be very revealing. And instead of making, like Washington made the deal with Spielman himself as an individual, the Jets made the deal with the 33rd team. Why? Like, why introduce that potential complication? Number one, it just the way in which moves are made, it has to be about winning on the field and very little else. And right now it's about so much more. The influence is about so much more than just winning on the field in terms of the moves.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get to your remaining super chats here with our guy, Robby Sabo. Big Country wants to know who gets let go first, Fields or Glenn, and how much longer will Garrett be out? I mean, Garrett might be able to play this week, but I'd imagine if it's close, they'll be cautious with him because you have the bye and you will let him rest up and get healthy during the week off. Who gets let go first? I mean, to me, I think it's Fields. I mean, I don't know. I guess if you think Glenn's going to be here next year, I think you would say Fields. If you think Glenn's going to be one and done, Fields is under contract for one more year at reasonable money for a bridge quarterback, knowing you're going to draft a quarterback in the top 3. So it depends how you view it.
Yeah, it's a tough one, actually. They're really close. And, Fields, I would imagine they front loaded the deal. They had to have.
Well, they did. It's $30 million in year one. And but if they cut him, I saw this, it's $22 million in dead cap if they cut Justin Fields this offseason. So think about it. Because these geniuses decided to split up Rodgers' cap hit over 2 years, Rodgers will count for $35 million against the Jets cap this offseason rather than just take it all on the chin this year, which they should have done. But we know they're not tanking because they didn't do that. Duh. And so now, next year, Rodgers will count for 35 and Fields would count for 22 if he's not on the team. So I'm not good at math, but that's over $50 million in quarterbacks who might not be playing for you next year.
See, that's the thing. The whole Rodgers thing. Again, what I just mentioned. The way in which moves are made can be very revealing, and it's the world of confirmation bias. Fox News started it in the '90s. You got CNN, MSNBC, politics. The news is all about confirming biases and what the individual consuming it thinks is right or wrong. But if you really want to try to make a true difference, you try to look outside of that and you try to evaluate objectively. And in terms of the Rodgers situation, Glenn, Woody, they had every prerogative to move on, and it's not insane whatsoever to make that move. But don't sit here and try to sell me that he can't play anymore, number one. And number two, that it was a slam dunk decision. It wasn't. Keeping him would not have crippled them, not even close. When you compare it to the alternative, it's very, very close. So just let's keep it in reality when making these decisions.
It really is amazing, Robby. I keep refreshing my Twitter, and these are the tweets that I'm referring to for those who were watching earlier, right? Like, I literally just got this after we were talking about this. This is some asshole who has no idea who I am, who just sent me a tweet 3 minutes ago. You really are the worst of the fan base. Also, you are a racist. People know you know this. Okay. You really got me, anonymous loser, SLGL991. I live with my mother, and I'm adopted, and my parents don't even love me. You got me.
Somebody might be, I don't know, man. Is that a bot?
I've gotten so much of this the last week. It's crazy. You can't be critical of a head coach who talked about things were going to be different, said they're not the same old Jets, and he hasn't won a game yet. Remember, Aaron Glenn is doing an amazing job. He is tremendous at what he does.
NY Jets fan, it's not a bot, it's Peace Pressure. I was going to say, I'm good in the bot world in terms of actual crawlers and the website and Google, but social media, I'm not. So I don't know. Like, YouTube is easy to spot them. Twitter, not so much, especially with AI the last year. But it seems like the volume you're getting, it feels like a coordinated attack. I don't know. It's weird.
It's actually insane. People are just so stupid.
Yeah.
Let's see. Spencer Green, who is a big Aaron Glenn truther, but I like Spencer a lot, says, breaking news, the Jets will allow Glenn year 2. That's the bottom line. Stop being losers, Jets. Trade Garrett Wilson for Beast and some brooms and Quidditch balls. Damn, elect to kick ass. Spencer, if they, quote-unquote, bottom out and it's 0-17, this head coach is not coming back. And also, here's the thing, too, right? If they're as bad as it looks so far, Robby, right, they finished with the worst record in the league.
Yeah.
The reason why you don't want to bring back this coaching staff is because if you're that bad, you're not a good coach. Like, no matter what you thought of the Jets this year, whether you were as high as Will Parkinson, who had them winning 9 games, or you thought that they could be a playoff team, or you thought they were a 7-win team, or me thinking they were a 6-win team after they lost AVT.
I had 7 or 8, I think. 7 or 8.
Right.
Yeah.
You didn't think it ever would look like this, where we're talking about them being the worst team in football. And right now they clearly are. They're the only team without a win. And if it stays this way, where they're picking number 1 overall, you need to move on because you already know you don't have a coach. They're not this bad from a talent standpoint. So you would move on so you don't draft a quarterback with this regime and put that quarterback in a spot where, just like now with Dable relying on Dart to save his job, the coach and the quarterback are not aligned. They're not on the same timeline. And it's a huge problem when that happens because then the organization is not putting the quarterback in the best possible situation to succeed. Caleb Williams with Matt Eberflus was the latest example. Before this year, Cam Ward and Callahan, another example that just happened. So, like, if you go into next year with Glenn after you're the worst team in football, you get off to an 0-2 start, there's always going to be rumblings about, is Woody going to fire him again? And guess what? He probably will fire Aaron Glenn a year from now at this time. If they're this bad this year, they go into next year with Fernando Mendoza and they get off to a 1-5 start. Like, that's what happens in the NFL. That's why they need to win games now. So we don't need to have the stupid one and done conversation that no one wants to have if you're a real Jet fan, but that's the reality of the situation.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it's, again, it's more about wins and losses for me. It's about evaluating the leader on the sideline, and it starts there. And there have been far too many critically troubling signs so far, and that's my main thing.
It's horrible. All right, some super chats here. A lot of super chats. Burkinator, Kingsbury has at least proven he could somewhat develop QBs, and offensive minded might be good for a change. Yeah, I mean, he has experience. He made the playoffs. It didn't end great, but I mean, it never ends great if you get fired. Andy Reid got fired, and then the Chiefs said, "We'll hire you." He'd be on my list. Mike McCarthy would be on my list. If Kevin Stefanski got fired, you go to the playoffs twice.
Stefanski has to be one of the Stefanski has to be in the mix.
Coach of the year in Cleveland. He went to the playoffs 2 times in 5 years in Cleveland. If you could do that, you could do that with the Jets. McCarthy worked with Jerry Jones. He's won a lot of games in his career, worked with a bunch of different QBs. There's guys out there, and I don't think who would take this job? You have the number 1 pick, cap space, this offensive line, Garrett Wilson, some good players on defense. You get paid handsomely. Someone will take this job. Let's not act like no one would come here. I love when people just throw that out there as if like no one would want a chance to be an NFL head coach in New York. Come on.
Yeah, no. Someone will take this job for sure. A pick of the quarterback, there's talent on the roster for sure. You know, it comes down to ownership. It comes down to Woody and Brick and what they're going to do. That's what it basically comes down to. And to me, they're on the clock. It's going to be very critical. Obviously, there's still 10 games left. There's still 10 games left. So we'll see what happens. But what I would say to them, if I could sit in front of them, I would say wins and losses should be secondary in terms of the rest of the way, the rest of these 10 games. It needs to be about so much more. It needs to be about seeing
how it looks.
Yes, it's seeing from Aaron Glenn the capability to fill the shoes of what teams need to win in today's league. And so far, it's been graded at F for sure.
Boomtown says, how about them Blue Jays? Go Jays, go. Boom, I'm happy for you and any of our Canadian listeners, but even though I don't like the Dodgers, I'm left with no choice. I have to root for them in the World Series.
Old school Joe Carter, early 90s, back in the series. Love it.
Poor Seattle, man. Never been to the World Series. Up 3-2. Need to win one more game, and you couldn't do it.
That 2000, when did they have the historic team? 2002? 2001?
01.
01, yes. And Yankees knocked them off. Yeah. It's tough.
Big Fella Super Chat says, Little Fella has a question for you both. Is there a way for us to retain Muji if we get rid of Glenn? He's happy with our moves in the draft. I think Glenn and Muji are a tandem, so I'd be surprised.
I would be too. I don't rule it out completely, but I'd be surprised too. And you mentioned too, the way Woody introduced Muji, it was very telling at the presser.
I mean, you were there, weren't you? He referred to him as his sidekick.
I was there. It was very telling.
It was clear that the Jets are one of those organizations like the Niners, like the Chiefs, like a lot of these teams, Mike Vrabel now in New England, the latest, that the head coach is the ultimate, power broker of the organization. Like Glenn, he has final say on things. Muji has responsibilities as a GM. Glenn's not scouting necessarily, day 3 draft picks year round like Darren Muji might be as the GM. But like any major decision, if they disagree on something and they go to Woody Johnson to break the tie, he's going to side with Glenn. That's how it was set up.
Agreed. And I think a big part of it was he was in the organization on that side first,
right.
Post player career as a scout. So Yeah, that's the way it is. And it's a lot of responsibility for a first-time guy. With Engstrand, first-time OC, Fields, who has a lot of limitations. This thing was set up not in a certain way where the odds were in favor of having success. They weren't.
I'm skipping ahead to this funny super chat here. I just saw from Matt L in the raffle for 10 with this. Hey now. Jake, forward me the names of these calling you racist. I'll pass those to my Uncle Vito. Rodgers is gone because of Woody and AG's ego. Robbie, what you said about Aaron Glenn's defense at Detroit getting burnt by Fields makes total sense.
Yeah, when you're a defensive mind, there's nothing worse than doing everything correct, in a situation and then having a broken play where a quarterback just breaks your heart. It's brutal.
Rex would say that too, that running quarterbacks were the toughest for him to deal with.
It's such a wild card. It's so ridiculous. It's so defensive coaches. Oh, it's so cheap. It's crap. You can't get away from it. That's the case, but you can't let that rule everything. And listen, by the way, Glenn, with personnel, this draft, everyone wants to say Muji. Glenn has a hand in this draft too. So I don't think the case in terms of Glenn evaluating personnel is fully out yet that he's failed, especially, the quarterback situation is obviously a black mark, but what is the full story there? In other words, I don't know, but in terms of head coach, it's sideline game management, all that good stuff. Nah, it's not looking good.
BC says, does Woody realize he's a perennial loser? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I would imagine he does. He knows the team hasn't made the playoffs since 2010.
Yeah, listen, Woody wants to win. He wants to win. There's no.
He doesn't know how to win, but I also think he wants to win on his terms. He never took responsibility for Salah or Douglas because he said, his brother oversaw those hires. These are his hires. That's my fear, that if Glenn can't turn this around and I don't think they're going to go winless, but they're 2-15, and it's clear he's not the guy for the first pick in the draft to take a quarterback. He's going to be too stubborn to admit he got it this wrong. And he'll have the 33rd team. He'll have Mike T and Spielman in his ear saying, hey, give it more time. We're going to turn it around. Like, my fear is he wouldn't be able to admit a mistake, and then he'll be completely irrational like the Tennessee Titans owner was, firing Callahan in year 2 when they should have just got rid of him after 1 year if you were going to do that in year 2.
Yeah, think about, Woody and Salah and Douglas going after Rodgers. They go after him. Okay. Hopes are high, and as they should have been. He gets hurt, misses the whole year. Okay, starts the second season, rehabbing from an Achilles, mind you. I mean, it takes a while. Usually takes a full season, and only plays a handful of games before his guy he wanted to play for, Salah, gets fired. You go get Rodgers, and he doesn't even get to really play for the situation he wanted to play for. So I think there needs to be a lot of learning from over the course of the last 2 years.
Comments, questions, super chats. They cut the line. Rick Gordon says, fire Glenn, hire McCarthy. Team should be 4-3. I mean, I think with better coaching, they're obviously not 0-7. They probably do have at least 3 wins.
I mean, with better kicking, how many wins did they have last year?
No one wanted to hear that, though, because it was all Aaron Rodgers' fault for everything. Remember that.
When you look at the tape, it was very evident he could still play. He could still throw the ball. I couldn't believe people were shocked he threw the ball 70 yards in a Hail Mary. Like, what were people watching last year?
They didn't watch. That was the problem. Once they got out to such a bad start, people just wanted to use Rodgers as the scapegoat and not acknowledge the fact they had the lead 7 times in the fourth quarter. The Jets can't get to the fourth quarter with any lead. Last year, they were talented enough to get to the fourth quarter, in part because of Rodgers being so much better than quarterback play we had seen since 2015 Fitzpatrick. They couldn't close because they were terribly coached. This year, they downgraded that quarterback, and the coaching's just as bad.
Yeah, they didn't just downgrade.
Dramatically. Dramatically. It's not even close.
I mean, it's mind-boggling, honestly. And again, it's their prerogative to make that move. And there is some logic behind wanting to go to the rushing quarterback system, a la Philly and Baltimore. But as we talked about, that puts everything on the coaching staff. Everything. That puts the spotlight firmly on Glenn and firmly on the coaching staff, because everything else has to be buttoned up to a T, because you don't get the same advantages in the passing game. And as we talked about, short passing game, it dominates football. That's what it is. So the quicker the release with quarterbacks, the quicker they could dissect defenses. Even after week 1, when the Jets lost, people were making fun of Rodgers. 4 touchdowns, he didn't do anything, blah, blah. No, he did a lot because he diagnosed stuff pre-snap. He diagnosed the defense. He knew exactly where to go with the ball. That stuff that isn't really, it's really hidden within the context of watching the game sometimes is so big. And the Jets don't have any of that this year, defensively as well. They're getting a little better defensively, but mostly offensively.
This one from Spencer. Rodgers screwed us. He's why we have that shitbag Lazard. Now, the reason why you have Lazard right now is Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji think they could take Saleh and Douglas's players and magically make them better. Lazard being here, it's not Rodgers' fault. All right. You want to say Lazard was signed initially because of Rodgers? Absolutely. But in 2025, are you kidding me? Alan Lazard shouldn't be playing. He's here because of Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji, not because of Aaron Rodgers. All right. Like, let's be clear here. Michael Clemens is here because of Aaron Glenn. Tony Adams was re-signed because of Aaron Glenn. Isaiah Oliver was re-signed because of Aaron Glenn. Paying Jamie and Sherwood, extending him. Aaron Glenn. These were their moves. They didn't bring in a bunch of former Lions and a bunch of guys that Aaron Glenn knew. They basically banked on being able to take a roster that we all agreed was talented a year ago and coach them up. And they've done the total opposite. What I mean by that is this is Aaron Glenn pumping up what they're going to be able to do with Justin Fields this year. And now he's already been benched.
He can galvanize a group of men. Listen, obviously he's a talented player. And listen, I'm happy that I have him as my quarterback. I really am. Because I think the sky's the limit for this player. I really do. Listen, I'm not going to go out there and say that he's the next Joe Namath or anything like that. But I will tell you what, man, he's going to be a good player for us. And I'm excited what he's going to do for us this season.
For them to be that wrong is why I'm so concerned about this regime surviving, even with 2 wins, and them taking Mendoza, and half the fan base is going to say, he sucks, he's terrible, And in reality, it could be a Sam Darnold thing all over again, where they actually pick the right quarterback, but we won't know till years later when that quarterback goes elsewhere and has success. Like that's my biggest fear now, because we know the season's cooked. It's just a matter of, is it going to remain this bad? And Woody's not going to go out of his way to try and fix it. And they will allow the Matt Eberflus, Caleb Williams, the Brian Callahan, and Cam Ward scenario to play itself out, or the, Trevor Lawrence and Urban Meyer. Like, just once again, here are the last couple of number 1 picks. This is an alarming trend. Last 4 quarterbacks taken number 1 overall have seen their head coach fired during their rookie campaign. Trevor Lawrence, Bryce Young, Caleb Williams, and Cam Ward most recently. That's my big fear with this team.
Yeah, it's, saying Rodgers screwed us is like a rich family taking in another family whose house burnt down. And then the family whose house burnt down says, oh, these guys are screwing us. They don't have the cereal we like. Like, what the hell were the Jets before Rodgers? What are you talking about?
It's amazing.
He chose the Jets. Think about that. He chose the Jets.
And took the largest pay cut in NFL history.
And it didn't work. It doesn't mean he screwed you. It just didn't work. So come on, man. Let's live in reality, please.
It's scary, man. It's scary. Also, there's some other trends here that are concerning, right? Jets banking on an outlier. Longest losing streaks to begin their coaching career here. I guess we could point to Shanahan, but my big fear with some of the guys on this list, mostly offensive guys. I mean, Brian Flores was a defensive guy, so that gives me some hope for Glenn, but it's tough, man. Some of these guys just were not good coaches. I don't think Zach Taylor is a very good coach. I know he went to the Super Bowl, but I watched the Bengals. I'm like, I don't think he's very good. I don't know. Maybe Zach Taylor's better than I'm giving him credit for.
Yeah, I just don't know.
This is
Zach
not a
Taylor's
good
an
list.
Interesting one. Yeah.
It's not, you know what I mean? Like, it's not a good list other than Shanahan. Like, we're banking on an outlier here for Glenn to be Kyle Shanahan, really?
I might be a little more gung ho on Zach Taylor than you, but it is a mystery. It's one of those wild cards. If he was available, he'd be firmly in the mix as well for me. But yeah, listen, I'm a defensive guy. I would never say defensive guys can't do it. They absolutely can. We see it in the NFL right now. But they have to be. They have to understand what this world is. They have to fully understand. If they don't, they have no chance. And far too often we've seen that in Jets world in the last how many years? I don't know.
The pain. Let me get to this one from Dylan here, and then I'll let you go, Robbie. I didn't realize how long we kept you here. Counter argument: Trevor Lawrence, young Caleb, thriving now, but the counter to that is like Sam Darnold, Daniel Jones, the Baker Mayfield, right? Like some guys are able to overcome it, and if you get the right coach as the follow up after you you put him in position with the wrong coach, you could salvage it.
Yeah.
Jets tried that with Sam, right? Oh, Todd Bowles, not the right coach for Sam Darnold. You mentioned this. Christopher Johnson had the right idea as far as, hey, bring an offensive coach for a young quarterback, but it should not have been Adam Gase. It should have been Mike McCarthy. So, like, that's my big thing, Dylan. Like, to your point, yeah, you still could salvage it if they keep Glenn. He stinks. He gets fired after year 2. Fernando Mendoza needs a coach. You could hire the right coach. But you could take a chance where you get it wrong like Darnold, and then we're blaming Darnold. He stinks. He's terrible. He goes somewhere else years later, and he's good. Or Geno Smith or Baker Mayfield. Now Daniel Jones. So there's two sides to it. I just don't have a whole lot of faith in the Jets right now. How could you?
Yeah. And like Darnold, it was a long and winding road for him. Let's not pretend he recovered quickly. He had to bump into Shanahan. He had to bump into O'Connell. And that right there tells you it's coaching. So I don't know. Is there a world where Glenn stays on, Engstrand is a good OC, and they draft a young quarterback and they look better next year? Yeah, of course there's a world where that could happen.
You think they'd keep Engstrand?
There's a world where that could happen, but would you really feel comfortable with it in terms of what you've seen from Glenn on the sideline, in terms of making decisions? Would you feel comfortable with that? No, I think that would be fool's gold. He has to prove to me that he can make those decisions in real time, in nut crunching time, and be one with the quarterback and one with the offense, and have the ability to pull one out in the fire in the waning moments of a game.
Darnell says Campbell started 0-11 in his first season. Give Glenn time.
Hey, if Ben Johnson could be his OC next year, sure.
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem, right? It's like we're banking on outlier. Like, that's the defense for Glenn at this point. It's not that he's a good coach. It's, Dan Campbell started 0-11, so Glenn could do the same thing. Well,
guys,
he started 1-6 next year too. I think he'd be if Glenn starts 0-11, and let's say they finish with 2 wins, right? If they go into next year and start 1-6, I don't think Woody's going to be patient like the Lions owner was. Like, I think Glenn would be fired, in October of next year if they start 1-6.
Agreed. And let me pose this question: would Campbell still be the coach of Detroit if he stuck with Anthony Lynn?
No.
Like, let's think about it. Everyone needs to think about that. Like, that is a very important. Lynn, he was with Rex. Old school guy, loves to run the ball. That's not this world. Like, it's different. It's different. And Campbell had the foresight to understand that and recognize that guy coming up, on the offensive side for him. And he made the right decision. Can Glenn do that? I don't know.
All right. Couple quick ones for you here, and then we'll let you run. 25 in the house. 0-7. Field sucks. We know what Tyrod is. Why not start Brady Cook and see what he can do? We got nothing to lose. Your guy is Brady Cook, Mr. Sabo. I think we're going to see at some point. What are your thoughts?
Dude, I loved what I saw in the summer. I loved it. I'm not saying he's Johnny Unitas, but he has an aura in terms of not being afraid to throw the ball. He plays within the system. He plays within what the coaches are asking of him. Yet at the same time, he's not afraid to venture outside when it makes sense. And he's not shy to pull the trigger. So he played so well that I would not have risked sending him to the practice squad. I would have rolled with 3 quarterbacks because I know Tyrod's veteran. He's a veteran who's injury prone. I know Fields is a running quarterback. So I would have had him on the active roster, but Glenn didn't go that way. Yeah, I'd love to see what he does later in the season for sure.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dan the Jet fan says, we're the freaking New York Jets, and we're shit. Ladies and gentlemen, is there a better way to encapsulate the state of this franchise than that? I don't think so. Unfortunately, the Jets are, in fact, they are shit.
We're the freaking New York Jets, so we're shit.
Mr. Sabo, you are not shit. You do a great job over at JetX, jetsxfactor.com. First, tell us how Mr. Corbett, Mr. Third Down, Wayne Corbett is taking the 0-7 start, and then tell us all about JetX.
Wayne, we're trying to figure it out the next show. I think maybe tomorrow or maybe this afternoon. We'll see. And JetX, Joe, I think Blewett's doing his film. He'll be on your show later today. So we'll have some film content out later today. I think Nania's working on something too right now. So good stuff coming.
Mr. Sabo, hang in there. We will talk soon.
All right. Later.
The great Robby Sabo, jetsxfactor.com in his weekly spot. Reminder for those tuning in, end of the show today, I'm giving away 3 signed Jets items, signed JJ jersey, signed Corbett football, and a signed Broadway Joe Namath helmet. We also have our watch party on Sunday, our only one in all likelihood for the regular season. Goldies Tavern, New York City. Free event. You get a free beer if you show up in Jets or Asmaniac gear. Goldies is a great spot. We'll have the other games on too. Red Zone. You'll be able to follow along for your bets or your fantasy team. I won in fantasy last night. I don't know, nobody cares because of that Texans defensive touchdown. So that was big for me, even though Houston lost. So thank you to Will Anderson for that. Spencer Green, super chat, cuts the line. Lake Show. Who cares about your Lakers? Get out of here. Let's go Knicks. Stop it. Go New York. Go New York. Go. Our only hope for a great team in New York right now. Bino, Campbell comparison, overblown. Stafford trade accelerated everything for Detroit. A quarterback for a quarterback swap plus high picks. Yeah, I mean, look, Goff wasn't Goff that first year, but he had been to a Super Bowl. And he had been a lot better than anything we have seen from Justin Fields. I just keep coming back to the fact that Glenn was so arrogant about what they were going to be able to do for Fields, coaching him up. And it's like, dude, he was 4-2 last year. He got benched. The Jets won't sniff 4 wins this year in all likelihood. It's just that's what gives me a pause. It's like this coach was so wrong about what they were going to be able to do for the quarterback that they gave $30 million to fully guaranteed. So why should we trust him to pick and develop the number 1 pick in the draft? And if they're not picking number 1, guess what? They're picking in the top 3. They're not going to get out of the top 5. What does it seem over the next 10? Going to go on a 10-game winning streak. The road to 10-7 starts Sunday. I hope they do win 10 in a row. That'd be awesome. They won't, but it'd be awesome. All right, let's get to some of your calls. We got a first-time caller on the line. JB will start us off this segment, give his Jets takes. What's up, JB?
There he is.
Ladies and gentlemen, one of the greats from Ithaca College to ever do it is on the line. What's up, JB?
Bombers. Hey, man. Been a while. How are you?
I'm hanging in, dude. I know you're a disgusted Jet fan like all of us.
Happens. I guess so is life. But, yeah, man, I got a lot of takes for you. So, it's interesting. Contrary to a lot of fans, I don't think Aaron Glenn should be the one to go. And, I think when you look at it, we're in the middle of a 14-year drought. I think when you summarize the 14-year drought, we've had a lot of top 10 draft picks, a lot of top 5 draft picks. There's one thing we've escaped this whole time, the number 1 draft pick. We haven't had one in, 30 years since Keyshawn Johnson, right? 1997, 96, was it around there?
They had it in 96, and they traded the pick.
That's right. We haven't picked number 1 in decades. And you look at just the general landscape of what the number 1 overall pick does for you. We have not actually tore down the walls ever, right? 2021, we drafted 2 overall. We drafted Zach Wilson. We supplemented Wilson with Corey Davis, with pass rushers, Vinny Curry, he who shall not be named, who had a brief stint, Carl Lawson. We overpaid the shit out of Carl Lawson. I mean, you look at how we have not supplemented this roster for the long run, Jake. I mean,
but what's the difference between 1 and 2 in that scenario? They bottomed out in 2020. Like that team in point differential was the worst in Jets history, even worse than the Kotite 1-win 96 year. They picked the wrong quarterback, and you don't need to if they're bottoming them out. To your point, JB, they're taking a quarterback, right? So you could take a quarterback number 1 overall. It doesn't guarantee anything. Like you know what I mean? Like they still have to then put that quarterback in position to have a chance. The best quarterbacks in the league, most of them weren't number 1 overall picks anyway.
No, but you look at the general landscape of that draft, it's Zach Wilson or Trevor Lawrence, right? And now I'm not saying Trevor Lawrence is a world beater, but what Trevor Lawrence is a team or a player who can lead his team to a winning season, who's competent, who's put out more than 1 season of decent tape against a middle-of-the-pack NCAA schedule like Zach Wilson had at BYU. 0 sample size, brand new coach who was endorsed by Peyton Manning and nobody else, with 0 successful head coach experience. And that's another thing, too. You're going to scour the head coaching market. Sure, Mike McCarthy's an attractive name, but ask the Dallas fans how he feels about coaching head coaching a team without Aaron Rodgers. We have not hired also a head coach with a previous winning record as a head coach from another team since Bill Parcells. That's been 9 or 8 head coaches since Bill Parcells. We have not hired one with previous head coaching experience who's ever compiled a winning record on the team he's been a head coach for.
That's true, but Mike McCarthy, I mean, Cowboys fans, I think they preferred him over Schottenheimer when that whole thing played out. He won 12 games, 3 straight years. Every year Dak was healthy, they made the playoffs and he won. at least 12 games. Like,
is that Jerry Jones' goal to make the playoffs?
Well, it should be
the money that he spends.
It should be the Jets' goal to get out of hell right now, have a winning season for the first time in a decade.
Sure.
And if it's not him, how about there's other guys too, though, JB? Like you could hire a different experienced coach and put the young quarterback you're taking first overall in the best possible situation to have a chance. That's my whole thing, right? Like they picked the right guy with Sam. He wasn't the first overall pick. They just gave him no chance with the roster and coaching situation. And that's my fear. If you retain Glenn, what has he shown you to be a guy that could help develop quarterbacks or put his team in the best possible situation to have success?
I wouldn't necessarily say we've been given a chance by Glenn, but I wouldn't necessarily say we've been given a chance by Muji either, right? And it takes more than one season with a new regime. You don't see a new head coach come in his first year and instantly make a conference championship or playoffs. And now I'm not saying that you're expecting a head coach to go 0-7.
Rex
right?
Ryan did it.
Yeah, sure. But again, you look at
Eric Mangini made the playoffs his first year. Herm Edwards did it. Al Groh had a winning record. Bowles even had a winning record with Fitzpatrick.
And how long did they stay for? Because you're expecting instant success, but you're not building for the long term. And
yeah, but I didn't expect instant success with this team. I just wanted to see some improvement. I wanted to see a team that's well coached. Like, to quote the head coach, a team that we're proud to watch at the end of the year. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's been nothing so far. It's been awful. The Patriots don't regret moving on from Gerard Mayo when they had a chance to get a real coach in Mike Vrabel.
Agreed. And look, if I had my chance, I would have wanted Vrabel as well. I would have wanted Ben Johnson as well as Aaron Glenn, because you're talking about a guy who clearly is inept on one side of the ball and doesn't know how to adjust in game, doesn't know how to scheme, doesn't know how to prepare.
You're talking about Glenn, right?
Glenn, of course.
So, but you're making my argument for me. If they're as bad as it looks, right? They're picking number one overall, to your point. Why would you then keep the coach? It gives you a perfect opportunity to say, hey, we got this one wrong. We're going to bring in an experienced offensive coach that would want the job to pick whatever quarterback they really like.
Glenn's not the only guy, right? And it has to be supplemented by Glenn having enough to game plan around. Right now, he can't game plan because he doesn't have anything to game plan with.
How much of that is him, though, right? He chose to move on from Aaron Rodgers, which means no Devontae Adams. He also chose to bring back guys like Alan Lazard. Their big free agent acquisition was Tyler Johnson and Josh Reynolds. Like, a lot of these moves, he's just as involved in the makeup of the roster from a personnel standpoint as Muji is. Muji was referred to as Glenn's sidekick by the owner, so they work as a tandem.
But maybe what we're seeing right now, let's go with the last team that did it, the Philadelphia 76ers in the NBA, trusting the process. You rebuild and you tank. It might not be easy to tank in football, because football, obviously, if you tank and you take it easy or you play slow and you try to lose, you're going to get knocked out, right? But in football, perhaps what Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji were given was the opportunity to tear down the roster and build for the long term, which
they didn't do that. That's my point to you.
Ability to do so.
But they didn't tear down the roster. They won. No, they didn't.
We have $80 million in cap space next summer. We have our two best players outside
JB, they could
long-term deals.
You realize they could have had even more cap space this summer. Or not even the summer.
Yeah, of course. Rodgers, you're saying.
Right, but they chose to split the cap space up over 2 years. Why? Now they're in a spot where Rodgers will count $35 million against their cap.
We're going to have $50 million guaranteed to quarterbacks next season.
Well, and Fields is another $22 million.
But who says they're not going to keep him?
I mean, maybe they will, maybe they won't. But right now he looks like he's unplayable. So that's the guy that you want to mentor, your young quarterback that is going to be drafted in the top 3, if we're being fair. Yeah. Maybe like
100%.
But like, to your point, they're going to tear down the roster. They tore down the roster. They really haven't, though. They chose to they retained Clemens. They didn't cut him. They retained.
They had to retain.
No, they didn't have to. They saved cap space if they cut Michael Clemens. They also chose to re-sign Tony Adams.
Alternatively.
What do you mean they tried? They drafted Tyler Barron, who's been inactive. That's on them. They used a 5th-round pick. They traded up to get him. Like, they've made a lot of bad personnel moves, man. They haven't torn this down.
You're not wrong, but a lot of great ones, too. You look at the young players, Malachi Moore having a fantastic season. And look,
he looks good. Yeah, he looks good. But
I wouldn't necessarily say that right now Darren Muji and Aaron Glenn have put us in the position to succeed and to win games. But at the same time, Rome wasn't built in a day. And for the first time ever, we're not going out and just incessantly spending money out of house, right? And we're not bringing in these external guys to spend on short-term big money deals, and we're trying to build this slowly. And what I'm saying is just have a little faith.
Yeah, but they didn't think it was going to be this bad, though, JB. Their plan wasn't to be
Nobody thinks it's going to be this bad, right? Because, of course, you coach to win.
Yeah, but you started your call saying that, their plan's to bottom out. That's not what their plan was. Their plan, you think Woody Johnson was sold on this team being a laughing stock and the worst team in the NFL?
100%. Have we received any indication from Woody Johnson that he's ever tried to do anything else with the team?
He's trying to win, man. He's just not very good at it, obviously. What do you mean? You don't think Woody Johnson has tried to win? You know how much money he has spent on the roster the last couple of years? They
Yeah,
haven't come
of course
close.
you have to spend money on the roster. You have to spend money on the roster, but he doesn't do it.
If he's not trying to win, why would he agree to let them pay Justin Fields $40 million, 30 of it guaranteed? If they were trying to tank, to your point, this is what I mean. This is why it doesn't make any sense. Your theory doesn't work. Why would they go into the year with Fields? Just let Tyrod play and then have Brady Cook back up, and eventually he plays. You're going to lose anyway at that point. They gave Fields $30 million guaranteed.
Look at the general scope of how much starting quarterbacks are getting paid in the NFL.
But they didn't need to. They had Tyrod under contract, is my point to you. It's not like they blew it up. You're like, they blew it up. No, they made additions, and they retained a lot of the guys that you're talking about they should blow up. These were their personnel moves. This was their evaluation of the team. How about when Glenn is puffing his chest about, oh, it's coaching, man. It's coaching, when referring to Will McDonald learning a bull rush move, taking a shot at Saleh's staff. How about when he took shot after shot at Saleh's coaching staff when talking about how undisciplined and penalized the Jets were? And there's been games this year where they've been the most undisciplined, most penalized team in the league. How about when he's talking about how the last 4 minutes of each half belong to the head coach, and he's been horrendous in the last 4 minutes.
Yes,
of each half.
you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Look, I'm not. Again, I had said Aaron Glenn is inept on the offensive side of the ball, and there's no doubting that. I will also say it's not like Tanner Engstrand has the veteran experience as an offensive coordinator, as a full-time play caller, to educate Aaron Glenn. And a lot of times it's not always necessarily the head coach educating the offensive coordinator on the offensive side of the ball, right? Aaron Glenn should be sitting in the film rooms, but Tanner Engstrand should be leading the film sessions, should be teaching Aaron Glenn what pre-snap motions, pre-snap shifts look like. Actually,
he should know this, though, JB. He said he's not a defensive coach. He coaches the whole team. Mike Vrabel knows this stuff. Mike Tomlin knows this stuff. Real coaches, right?
These are guys who have been head coaches for years on end.
But that's my point.
Start in Tennessee, it was just as disastrous. He did not make the playoffs for the first few years in Tennessee. Then miraculously, when he was able to accrue Ryan Tannehill, the veteran receivers, Derrick Henry obviously strode it. I mean, Derrick Henry's another story. Don't even get me started on Derrick Henry. He's phenomenal. But you look at the
JB, respectfully, you're wrong about his first 2 years in Tennessee. He went 9-7, 9-7. Aaron Glenn is not going to sniff 9 wins probably over the next 2 years combined at this rate.
We don't know that because our roster complexion right now is not set for next year.
Once again,
$1 million right now. And
it wasn't supposed to be this bad, though. You're right. Yes, the roster in theory should be better next year with another draft, more money to spend on free agents, right? I'm sure that whoever they play at quarterback, I'd imagine it would be tough for them to be as bad as Fields has looked for most of these games besides one in the opener. But my point to you is when it looks this bad, don't tell me, oh, other coaches. Mike Vrabel won 9 games his first 2 years. We would kill for a 9-win season. They haven't won more than 7 in a decade. You're just excusing Glenn. You called him inept on offense. That's my point. If you think he's inept on offense, don't let him pick a quarterback number 1 overall. That's a huge risk to set your franchise back. You could have a Sam Darnold situation all over again where you actually picked the right guy, but you didn't give him a chance to be successful here. And we're going to learn years later that's exactly what's going to happen all over again. That's my fear.
That about the head
doesn't
coach
improve
as much as the quarterback?
I think the quarterback, some guys are just so good they could overcome anything. Most guys, I think, need to be in the right environment to have a chance.
Correct. It's the right marriage. And obviously what we have right now are a GM and a quarterback who were given a very short end of the stick, and we're given 2 quarterbacks more or less to choose from with starting caliber 3. Tyrod Taylor is not a starting caliber.
Wait, hold on.
Sure.
They could have drafted a quarterback, right? Like what stopped if they love Jackson Dart, what stopped them from doing that? If they wanted Aaron Rodgers back, Aaron Glenn couldn't have brought him back. Woody said, hey, you're not getting like the way Rodgers talked about the encounter with Glenn made it clear he was going to send a message to the team that the Rodgers stuff is done. I'm the new sheriff in town. Like they chose to go into this year with Justin Fields and Tyrod Taylor. And forget just Jackson Dart, for example. They didn't draft anyone in the draft. Their only quarterback move was Brady Cook.
3 options, right? Rodgers, Fields, rookie. Those were theoretically the 3 options that the Jets were given. Just given the fact that most quarterbacks were tied up.
Jameis Winston,
Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, sure. But Jameis Winston's not sniffing the field on the Giants. And that's another story. If we make a trade, you better acquire a Gardner Minshew, a Jameis Winston back, and you better give him a shot on next to no money on the back end of the season. But you have to see what's out there. And with a brand spanking new head coach who was clearly hired to learn the ropes as he goes, because you can't expect a guy, and sure, Vrabel did it 9 wins his first year.
Ben Johnson's doing it. Liam Cohen is doing it. There's a lot of coaches. D'Amico Ryans went to the one of the division and won a playoff game in his first year. The last 2 years, he's now won a playoff game. Harbaugh came back to the NFL. He had success immediately with the Chargers last year.
A guy who's a previous head coach, Harbaugh, and for what it's worth, Harbaugh's special, and he's someone that
I'm not disputing that, but you're saying it's like, oh, it's unreasonable to expect Aaron Glenn to have any chance to do well.
No, not that it's unreasonable, that it's unlikely for him to have that chance.
Right, and I didn't think they were going to be a great team this year. I had the Jets winning 6 or 7 games. It was 7, and then AVT got hurt. The Tuesday of week 1, I moved them down to 6. They're not winning 6 games this year, JB. They have the worst record in football right now. That's my point, that, yes, the expectations weren't that high, but you realize how bad it is. They just went 2 games in a row without scoring a touchdown. They have not scored a touchdown in the first half of a game since September 9th. That was week 1. Of their last 7 touchdowns scored from week 2 on, 6 of them have been in garbage time. They have not scored a touchdown unless they're trailing by at least 13 points or more since week 1. These are damning offensive stats. And while the defense has shown a pulse the last 2 games, we've seen this. That is not enough to justify keeping this coach around if the offense remains this inept when you have the number 1 pick and you have to give your quarterback, to quote you, the perfect marriage to have a shot. We've seen nothing from Glenn that would tell me he deserves the opportunity to be a part of that marriage if it doesn't improve over the next 10 games. That's been my whole point.
I appreciate that, and I will not go against your point, and I hear you loud and clear. What I'm saying is I do not think anyone on the roster has been put in the position to succeed because our roster is a bottomed-out roster. This is the first time our roster has truly been this piss poor, this atrocious. Every single time we've picked in the top 5, top 10.
Look at 2020, JB. 2020.
Yeah, good. And look what happened. We finally were able to pick a quarterback in the top few picks. Now, it didn't pan out. Why? Because we didn't have the right marriage.
Dude, the same thing happened in 2018. They with Sam Darnold. What do you mean? They traded up from 6 to 3 to get Darnold. They were a top 6 worst team in the league that year too. They've been bad plenty of times. The Jets have had a top 10 pick a lot of times.
We have not had a roster quite as bad as this
since 2020.
Sure, correct. And guess what? Now,
but guess what? This roster's not as bad as that. JB, you're saying the roster is so bad. They have a former first team All-Pro on 3 levels of all 3 levels of their defense. Their defensive line, in addition to Quinnen, has Jermaine Johnson, who's been a Pro Bowler before, has Will McDonald, who had 10 plus sacks last year. Their 2 linebackers, Quincy's been a former first team All-Pro. Sherwood, they just paid. This regime paid, right? All the bottom out. They gave Sherwood $45 million. They gave Stevens, their signing, $36 million. That, like, the 2020 Jets didn't have a Garrett Wilson or Sauce Gardner. Mason Taylor, like, he's a good player. Like, this team's got some good players on it. They shouldn't be this bad. That's my point.
They do. But look, again, we're in a selling position. I don't want to keep other callers. I'll end it like this. We have right now a head coach who has no experience. We have a quarterback with very little successful experience. We have a roster as a whole with young players who, for the most part, have individual accolades, but no team accolades. And right now, what you see is an opportunity with $80 million right now to go spend this offseason. Probably will be more come next offseason. Look, I from where I stand, I don't think you fire the head coach. I think, if anything, you move on from some coordinators, you move on from some additional personnel. But I think
so. If they finish with 1 win or 2 wins, you still want Aaron Glenn back to oversee picking one of these quarterbacks?
I want a different offensive coordinator who is more seasoned to step in and pick one of the quarterbacks. Yes, not Aaron Glenn. I want a new offensive coordinator under Aaron Glenn who is able to pick a quarterback and groom him, because I don't think Tanner Engstrand has any experience with that whatsoever.
Well, JB, I appreciate the call, but Glenn hired Tanner Engstrand, so that gives me no confidence. So we're going to fire the OC that the defensive coach picked. Why not just clean house at that point? That's the whole point. The history of this is not on the Jets side. The last 4 quarterbacks taken number 1 overall have seen their head coach fired during their rookie years. I mean, like, it makes no sense. Why are we prolonging it? If Glenn does such a bad job in his first year that they're sitting there with the worst record in football, he shouldn't get a second year, because that's not what the expectation was this year. Their win total was 6.5. It wasn't 1. It wasn't 2. Robert Saleh, with a way worse team, won 4 games his first year with Zach Wilson as his quarterback. Justin Fields is in his 5th year. This head coach said this about Justin Fields in June.
He can galvanize a group of men. Listen, obviously he's a talented player. And listen, I'm happy that I have him as my quarterback. I really am. Because I think I think the sky's the limit for this player. I really do. Listen, I'm not going to go out there and say that he's the next Joe Namath or anything like that. But I will tell you what, man, he's going to be a good player for us. And I'm excited what he's going to do for us this season.
How could you hear that and feel any confident in letting, like, I'm playing, obviously I hope the Jets turn it around and we're not talking about, 0-17 or 1 win or 2. Like, I hope they show real improvement over the next 10 games. But I asked him point blank, if the Jets finish with the number 1 pick, what would you do? Fire Engstrand and keep what? Who hired Engstrand? Do you think Glenn's going to be able to hire another good OC? Come on. Also, first ever press conference, Aaron Glenn. Hey, what's an Aaron Glenn quarterback?
What do you look for in a quarterback? Like, what's an Aaron Glenn quarterback?
A winner.
Justin Fields. I saw this stat yesterday. Couldn't believe it. It's a real stat, though. Justin Fields, now in his career, right? He has the worst winning percentage among any quarterback that has started at least 30 games or more in the NFL.
What do you look for in a quarterback? Like, what's an Aaron Glenn quarterback?
A winner.
No quarterback in NFL history has a worse winning percentage than Fields with that many starts. Think about that. Guys, in his 5th year, if they're this wrong about Justin Fields, what would give you confidence? They're going to be able to pick Mendoza or Sellers or whoever. That's what's scary about this. Ralphie in the house, Super Chat says, it's also very jet-like that wherever we're thin on the depth, we lose our main players to injury. Wilson, Sauce, AVT, Jets make a plan and God laughs at it. The roster construction is one of the worst in the league. And a lot of it was very predictable, right? We screamed the entire offseason and all summer that they are a Garrett Wilson injury away from having one of the worst wide receiver rooms we've ever seen. It happened. He rolled an ankle. He hurt his knee. Like, he's missing a couple games. Big fella, how many in-game mistakes are tolerable, JB? That's what I mean, big fella. Like, at some point you got to learn from your mistakes. My big thing with Glenn is, in the London game, he says his regret for how the first half debacle was handled is they didn't throw the Hail Mary. He did the exact same thing Sunday. I'm at the game watching it. I'm like, what is he doing? He's got a timeout in his pocket. You're in a tight, low-scoring game against the Panthers. Throw up a Hail Mary. You might get a PI call. Did you watch the Giant game? Dart's throwing stuff up there, getting calls. That's what you do. If Justin Fields can't execute a Hail Mary, if you don't trust him to do that, why am I trusting you after he was your hand-picked guy to draft the quarterback number 1 overall? It doesn't add up. Take emotions out of it. Take away the fact that he was a great Jet. It doesn't mean he's a good head coach. He has to prove he's a good head coach or he's learning from his mistakes. And in back-to-back weeks, after saying he made a mistake, he did the same thing again. Nick Shine says, raffle me up. Winning would be the most exciting thing Jets-related to happen to me this season. Ladies and gentlemen, Nick Shine in the raffle for 2. Nick Shine did not pick up Big Joe from the airport. Very upsetting, by the way. All right, let's get to more of your calls here. But first, we need to do something a little fun for this great community, all right? A lot of intense Jets talk. Let's take you back to Sunday at MetLife Stadium when the Asmaniacs all got together to root on a football team that we love that seemingly never loves us back.
Asmaniacs are at MetLife to root for our Jets. Jake Asman and Nick Shine are your hosts. We may never win a game this year, but we can party hard with our Asmaniac brothers and sisters. Show he's a celebrity they all want to meet. His back is crap, but we got him a chair. Somebody needs to carry his ass into the stadium. We all love Mr. Bonesy. He's a champion who thinks he can kick this ball. And there's that legend Rick Kent, travels 3,000 miles to watch the Jets lose games. We also have Jay Quest and the great Kyle Clifton. Today Kyle is outside, not inside. And there's Dre Day who gets the party smoking. No, I mean literally smoking, cause he brings the kush. Hey, there's Mark Ferrero meeting all the Asmaniac legends. That's Thunder Lips. That's a dope friggin' mustache. Holy shit, there's Papa Jet rocking his kick-ass beard. Nate brings the party volume up to 11. Basically because he had 11 drinks so far. Snowball is the best, and he loves our Jets. And then there's Lumpy Not Lumpy as Bobby Midnight calls him. We can't party without Lumpy. Is that a paper bag on PBM's head, man? Jake Asman and Nick Shine really know how to make us forget about how shitty the Jets are. Let's make MetLife rock with Asmaniac Green and pretend they are a good team for maybe a quarter. Asmaniacs roll!
Shout out to Gator for making that, and to everyone who put pictures in the Discord. Awesome. I don't know how Gator does that, but that was cool to look back on. I made it a members only and a Patreon video for anyone who wants to watch the whole thing or share it with anyone. It is there. All right, let's get to more of your calls. Reminder, we are going to do the raffle at the end here for the 3 signed items for this week. You still can enter during the show. Sign Namath helmet, sign Corbett football, sign JJ jersey. And our next event, by the way, I keep saying it, if you want to have some fun, the Jets might stink, but we'll have fun watching them anyway. Sunday, Goldies Tavern, New York City, right down the street from Penn Station. So you can take the train. It's easy, 135 West 30th Street, and we'll have a good time. All right, ladies and gentlemen, to your calls we go. And you just saw Big Cho heavily featured in that video recap there. The guy who drove Big Cho home from the game Sunday is Cannonball Eric, who joins us now. Hello, Eric.
Hey, Jake. I just had to call in because of all the talk about Glenn. He hasn't shown you anything positive as a head coach. We're losing games because of his decisions and what they did in the offseason. You know, what's Rodgers' record with the Steelers right now? Isn't it 4-2, the same that it was with Fields? You know, different players under different coaches perform better. Glenn isn't showing you that he could do that. You have no reason to think that next year is going to be any different. If you keep him for another year, you're just wasting one more year, and you're wasting a first-round pick that's really valuable, and you can actually use that as leverage to get a good coach. You need a good offensive coach. Not even just to pick a rookie quarterback, but to develop him, you know? Like, if we get Mendoza, and you have Glenn telling him not to throw the ball, don't turn it over, be safe, it's just going to end up as another failure.
It's tough to argue with any of that, man. I mean, I hope he improves, but I think some of these mistakes he's making, Eric, right? Either you have it or you don't. I understand guys could get better and whatnot, but like having game management type awareness, like maybe it could get better. Guys can improve, but I don't know if it's ever going to be great. And it's funny. I heard like Keyshawn Johnson on some podcast. They asked him about Glenn, his former teammate. He's like, he needs to hire a game management guy to help him. They did. They hired a guy with 35 years of game management experience between the Giants and the league office. The guy they hired trains the NFL referees on stuff. Obviously, either Glenn hired someone who's incompetent or he himself is not able under pressure to make decisions. How many times are they going to burn a timeout before they make a decision? How many times are they going to change whether they're aggressive or not aggressive? Glenn said Sunday they went for it on the 4th and 5 because they love their 4th down plays. That's a predetermined thing. They're going to be aggressive, right? Okay, fine. You're 0-6. I can live with it. They should have kicked the field goal. That's what I was saying in real time. But I can't kill Glenn for being aggressive when he doesn't have a win. Fine. Coach the win. Don't coach scared like he did in London. So what does he do? End of the first half, he's coaching scared with a timeout in his pocket. He's going into halftime because he doesn't trust his quarterback, who's in his 5th year in the league, to throw a Hail Mary. That's the problem, man. The hypocrisy is so obvious. More calls. Jay Graves is next. She was at the tailgate Sunday. Hello, Jay Graves.
Hey. So before I get into the tailgate, I want to tell you, don't you remember that he wanted a winner? We win every week at practice. Of course we have a winner. Duh.
We're a dynasty Wednesday through
Friday. But I know I told you the tailgate I was gonna call in, so I'm making the effort. I'm calling in. Like I always tell you, I'm not gonna call in just to call in. I gotta have something to say, and they've given me nothing to say, man. What the fuck? But the
It's been
tailgate
brutal.
was
They gave us
amazing as
something to care
usual.
about too. That was the thing, right? Like
Oh,
we didn't even have like
I
one
sat
moment where
next
we're
to
gonna be
you.
excited.
Everybody, I got to sit next to Jake for a whole half. I did jump up to the row 19, shout out row 19, but I wish we could have watched like together when we're playing well. Like I feel like I was not fun to sit next to. I know you felt you weren't fun to sit next to. Like, could you imagine if we hadn't played well and we sat next to each other? How hyped we would have both been.
It's sad. It's just the team has been so bad.
Yeah, I finally get the honor of sitting next to you, and I mean, I'm the kind of person I'm third down, like I'm yelling, I'm banging chairs, like all that stuff. I think I went, let's go, with about that and much enthusiasm that day. Like, and you were talking about the in-show experience. They had to change all those songs. I'm like, all those songs gonna be PTSD now. Like, why bother playing all that shit, get loud? Nobody cared. Nobody cared.
Yeah, it's just the game experience is terrible because there's no energy. There was just so much apathy. Like people were leaving in the third quarter. It was a 1-score game. Like there was no like it was just a boring game. Like if you're gonna be bad, like do what the Giants do. At least they score points and they lose. Like the Jets how they lost week 1. I was frustrated with it because people were celebrating a moral victory. But if they played that way in a lot of games this year, they wouldn't be winless. Like that's the whole point. It's like their best performance was the first game with no film on what they are as a team, and it's been all downhill since.
Even was the last week with the Denver game, like, yeah, we could have won, but in my head, I was like, I don't want to win because all you're going to hear is other people going, oh, see, they're back. Like, no, they weren't back. They got lucky that Denver was going to hand them a win. So I'm like low key glad we lost last week because if we had won, all this Aaron Glenn can do it. Like, no, he probably can't. Like, but that would have like swept that under the rug, and I'd rather just be bad. Like, just rip the Band-Aid off. Don't tease us.
Yeah, I mean, if you guaranteed a new regime and a real offensive coach coming in, and if it took 0-17, like I've already seen 2-14, like I can handle 0-17, like whatever. Like if it means Woody would make a change, like I get why people feel that way. I mean, I hope Aaron Glenn can turn it around. There's still 10 games left, and I talk about this team for 4 hours a day. But if that's what it took, I mean, I don't know. The problem is there's no guarantee that if they do win 2 games, that there would be meaningful change, and that's what's scary.
And to be clear, I always wanted to win. I'm not saying I didn't want them to win last week. At the point they could have won, I was like, why bother at this point? If they had played well all game and won, hell yeah, I want them to win. I want Glenn to do well. I just have no faith. I had even to the point we're driving there, me and Nick Shine, and I'm kind of talking like this. He looks at me and goes, I don't like your attitude. I think you gotta get out of my truck. Like even Nick was like appalled. Like they give me nothing right now. I'm so checked out. It's sad. And I did like, again, the tailgate was the best part. I remember like kind of standing back and looking at all the people because it was a really good vibe. It was a great crowd. And I was like, I just love these people. Like, and they literally had to fire off. For all of you who don't go to games for whatever reason, if you're not familiar, now we're so bad, they fire off fireworks to remind us to go inside. Because that's how sad it is. You have to be reminded, oh shit, oh, we're really here for a game. Oh yeah, now we gotta go in. Like, how sad was that?
That was the worst environment for a Jets game I've ever been at MetLife. And like when I lived in Houston, it's not like I got to a ton of games, but like I go back to like the Zach Wilson game against the Jaguars his rookie year. Like Middleton was the coach that day because Salah had COVID and they won, but there was energy in the building and it was 2 awful teams, but it was like, they scored points. Berrios had a kickoff return. Zach had a great long run. Like there was like offense. Like there was something happening. Like fans were into it. It's like we're watching a young team. Like hopefully get better. Like Sunday, it was just boring apathy. You don't score points. Like the whole league is built to score points. The Jets have gone 2 straight games without scoring a touchdown, and they have not scored a real touchdown that wasn't in garbage time until, let's be honest, either the field scramble when they were down 17-3 in the third quarter to Miami, or the first half against Pittsburgh was the last time they even scored a first half touchdown. That was the last game where they actually, played well collectively.
There's no hope. Like at least last year we had Rodgers. Like there's always hope with Rodgers. What do we have to hope for? Nothing. And like to the point that when they got the pick in the end zone, that was in our end zone. So I stood up. I'm very short, and I couldn't see. But I hear cheering. I'm like, "Oh, did we get it?" And somebody next to me had to be like, "No, they intercepted it." The Panthers fans who don't travel well were louder than us. It was so sad. It was the most depressing in-game environment. And I went to a lot of games last year. That I really started going to games again last year, so I can't speak to like the Geishers and stuff like that. But last year we weren't great, but we had Rodgers. Everybody had like a little bit of hope. There was cheering. Nobody cared. Nobody cared. It was so sad.
It's brutal. At least the tailgate and the weather was great, Jay.
Amazing. Yes, it
We
was
have
so
that.
much fun to tailgate. I will also say, if like I think Thunderlip said it yesterday, if you're on the fence, come to the event. They're so fun. Unfortunately, it's the best time of the day, but everybody's so welcoming. It was so fun to meet new people. Like I never met Jaden before in real life. I got to meet Jaden, Team Curry. He is hilarious. Oh my goodness, he was so much fun to hang out with. I told Rick Kent, it's a true story. I've seen Rick Kent more in the last month than I've seen my own father, and my father lives 10 minutes away. My dad's been too busy. I've seen Rick Kent more than my own father. Like, it was awesome just seeing everybody, seeing Bonesy. I think I've seen Bonesy since draft weekend. Like, it was fun. It was just seeing Dre Day. I haven't seen Dre Day in forever. I know I'm forgetting people, but everybody's awesome. It's like a family reunion at the tailgates. It's just fun.
Jay Graves, you're awesome. Glad you had fun despite the Jets being bad, but we'll do it again soon, I'm sure.
All right, Jake, I'll talk to you later.
Ladies and gentlemen, the great Jay Graves. Speaking of Thunderlips, shout out to Thunderlips, bringing the whole family. What a moment. Seeing that mustache of Thunderlips in person. That thing is tremendous. What do we have here? So this guy, Clay Hobbs, he never calls in. He just runs his mouth in the chat every day. I'll read you a few of his comments here, and I'll respond to him. Jake, you fire Muji and Glenn. Who's the replacement? You know this isn't Madden, yada, yada, yada. Shut up. I'll tell you who my replacements are. Anyone better. Wouldn't be that hard to get people to want to take over a team that has the number one pick in the draft and $80 million in cap space, Clay. All right? You don't keep a coach around. Oh, who are we going to get that's better? Really? The Texans went through 3 coaches in 3 years before they got their coach right. The Niners, same thing. 3 coaches in 3 years before they got their coach right. New England fired Gerard Mayo after a year to hire Mike Vrabel. You don't think people are going to want the Titans job, by the way, to coach Cam Ward? Like, stop with this is the worst roster in the NFL. It's not. Where do people get the idea this is the worst roster in the NFL? How many worst rosters in the NFL have 3 former first-team All-Pros on their defense? Have another Pro Bowl edge rusher, another rusher at 10 sacks, a linebacker who a year ago was voted team MVP by his own players, who they paid $45 million to. Offensively, how many first-round picks have they put in the offensive line? Or premium picks if you count Tippmann as a high second-rounder? Really? Garrett Wilson? Mason Taylor looks like a good player? This is not the worst roster in the NFL. You're just saying that because you're in denial about this regime, because you're a fool and all you want is positivity and everything's okay. What I know is the New York Jets are the only team in the NFL without a win. What I know is they have not scored a touchdown in 2 straight games. Everything is not great. This is not a roster problem. We understand that they were not a great team this year. Their win total was 6.5. Should they be the worst team in football, Clay? You can't answer that because you have no clue what you're talking about. Enough. And now you're going to say, oh, none of these guys have performed because they're losing players. They're losing players because they've been on bad coached teams. Was Aaron Rodgers a losing player? No, he's a 4-time MVP, Super Bowl MVP. He couldn't fix it because the coaching was so bad. That's what it comes down to. Was Devontae Adams a losing player? They've added guys that have won before. It still hasn't mattered. Why? When you're this poorly coached, you don't have a shot. But you won't listen to any facts. More of your calls right now. JJ is next. Hello, JJ.
You're. Can you hear me?
We can't really see you. You're frozen, but we do hear you, so that's all right.
All right, perfect. I'll stay frozen. Real quick. So I have a lot of semi points to get through. I first want to start off by saying it seems like we're all on page for trying to get Mike McCarthy next year, which I'm excited about that. I think that's the best route to go. We need a veteran head coach. We need somebody who's won football games in the past, who's been to a Super Bowl, who knows how to get the best out of quarterbacks. I think Dak Prescott was a really good quarterback, but I mean, he his play kind of elevated with Mike McCarthy, in my opinion. Some people would give Kellen Moore a lot of credit for that, but I think Mike McCarthy, I mean, he trained and developed Aaron Rodgers all those years back as well. So I do want to say, and this is a hot take, and everyone's probably going to disagree, but the first number one overall pick is very overrated. First overall picks don't really do well with their first team. If you go back and look at the last 25 first overall picks, with the exception of Myles Garrett and Cam Newton, they all pretty much haven't really worked out for the team that initially drafted them.
Correct.
What'd you say?
No, I agree with you. I've talked about this. Tanking is not the answer. If they happen to be picking number one overall, it's not on purpose. It's because they're inept.
Yeah, number one overall is not usually the players that go number one overall are overrated 99.9% of the time over the past 25 years.
Well, like I mean, here's the reality, right? The last 10 quarterbacks taken number one overall, it's hit or miss with a lot of them. Andrew Luck, Jameis Winston, Jared Goff, Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence, Bryce Young, Caleb Williams, Cam Ward. None of them have won a Super Bowl. Only Goff and Burrow had even appeared in a Super Bowl. Only Luck and Burrow clearly worked out for the teams that drafted them, and they both have dealt with, unfortunately, a ton of injuries. And in the case of Luck, is out of the league because of those injuries.
I wouldn't even say that Luck worked out for the team that drafted him, because he abruptly retired and then set that franchise back like 5 years.
Right, but the idea is, did you take someone number one overall that ended up being a great player? And he clearly was.
Yeah, Andrew Luck was a great player for the time being. Joe Burrow, he's one of my favorite quarterbacks, but he's almost never on the field. So it's hard to say, you know, with those guys. If you look at the second pick in the draft, though, the second picks in the draft have done a lot better. If you go down that list. So what I'm trying to say is, if we do get the first pick, I don't want us to draft a quarterback with it. I would rather us trade out and get some more draft capital. You're going to disagree with me, Jake, because you always disagree with me, but I would give a chance.
What do you mean? I agree with your take that Justin Fields was going to the Ring of Honor.
Yeah, I mean, I made a bad take on that. Just like you also told me a long time ago that Dan Quinn isn't a good head coach, and he was nothing without Kyle Shanahan. When I wanted us to try to get Dan Quinn from the Cowboys, but we all make mistakes. We all say things that
you think those are remotely in the same ballpark of takes.
I think so, because
I've been wrong plenty of times. Like, there's so many other ones you could say. I thought Zach Wilson was going to be good.
No,
I thought
that one was pretty bad, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because we saw that guy bring his team to the NFC Championship in his first year.
So you think
we've seen him completely turn around?
He's a good coach. He's a really good coach, 100%. I didn't want to bring in Dan Quinn. I thought that they could do better than Dan Quinn. 100%.
Even if Justin Fields was playing at a historic level this year,
you said he was going to go to the Ring of Honor.
Yeah, and I was wrong about it. And
he got benched 6 games in. That's a horrific take.
You also said Zach Wilson was a good quarterback, and if Breece Hall didn't get tackled on the 1 yard line and somebody else didn't get tackled, he would have had 2 touchdowns.
You were saying he doesn't throw any touchdowns, and I'm like, well, he threw passes to guys that got stopped at the 1 yard line. That was my point.
The point is,
that's such a small thing to nitpick. Like, you're unbelievable.
Zach Wilson being a good quarterback.
I'm done arguing with you. Just finish your.
You told me Zach Wilson.
Finish your take. I'm not doing this. Go ahead.
You started it. You told me that Zach Wilson was a good quarterback, and Joe.
Well, you said I'm not going to agree with you, so I brought up your most recent, Mona Lisa.
Anyways, you're not going to agree with me on this, but we're starting to see success around the league with these like quote unquote journeyman quarterbacks, like for example Daniel Jones, Sam Darnold, Geno Smith, Baker Mayfield. I think that if you pair Mike McCarthy with somebody like a Kyler Murray or maybe a Jameis Winston, whoever it could be, we could have, I'm not saying we're going to win the Super Bowl with one of these guys, but I'm saying next year we can have immediate success, and we can wait and draft the quarterback later on and let them sit for a little bit behind the Jameis Winston, behind the Kyler Murray, whoever your guy is, draft them, develop them. We don't have to put them in right away, and we can have immediate success with a Mike McCarthy. I would even go for like a Cliff Kingsbury and give him a second chance, depending on if he's interested or not. But we have to get an offensive guy into the building. I think that we have overrated our roster a little bit. I'm the biggest overrater of this roster. I thought we were going to have a much better O-line. I thought Justin Fields was going to be in the Ring of Honor. I thought a lot of things, right? Clearly I was wrong. But I think our roster isn't as good as we think it is. I think it's slightly average or below average. So
it's not worse than the NFL.
I don't think it's worse than the NFL, and that's why Aaron Glenn needs to go. But I do think that it's better if we do get the first overall pick to trade out of it and then try to get some more guys in, and you get some premium picks and get a second rounder. Do something with the roster, because the roster as it is,
I'll tell you what, if they keep Glenn, I'm much more open to trading back, getting a bunch of picks, and taking a different quarterback at some point. If they move on from Glenn and hire Mike McCarthy or Cliff, the two names you mentioned that I also would certainly be open to, I want them to evaluate the quarterbacks and pick the one they want. And if it means you got to do it number one overall, that's the whole point of hiring them.
But here's my thing, right, Jake? And you guys can talk about all the things that I've said that have been wrong. After, I think it was either the second or the third game, I called in and I said, hey, Aaron Glenn is not it. We, at the end of the year, we need to fire him. Everyone thought I was crazy then when I said that.
Because it was 3 games in, man. I mean, we had to give it a little more time,
but
it hasn't gotten better.
Which is fine. But for me, sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm wrong. In this case, I don't think that there should be any level of hope that Aaron Glenn is going to turn it around. I think we need to start as a fan base getting on the same page of we need a new head coach next year, without a doubt.
Be careful, JJ. You'll be called racist for that opinion, like I was. I've been. You're not allowed to be critical of Aaron Glenn. Be careful, man. They'll come after you too. I don't care. I don't care if you and I don't have the same exact skin tone. They're going to come after you too. They're going to say you're racist for that opinion.
Well, I mean, I think anyone can be racist. It doesn't matter what your skin tone is. However, what I will say about Aaron Glenn is when you look at the product on the field as a paying consumer, as a person who is a season ticket holder, whose season tickets got more expensive this year. Also, side note, I just want to say this for anyone who went to the game last week. What the hell is this going on at the halftimes at the Jets game? I mean, back-to-back home games, it's been like 5-year-old cheerleaders doing this dance routine competition at halftime. Can you guys bring back the Pop Warner football during the halftime or something, or bring back some actual halftime entertainment that a paying consumer would like to see? I mean, I'm paying so much money to go to the game. The team sucks, and then at halftime you got 100 little girls on the field doing a dance routine cheerleading thing. No, bring back the Pop Warner. I don't know if you guys remember when they used to have the Pop Warner teams come out and do a little scrimmage during halftime. That was exciting for the fans. Or have a halftime show or something. My God, it just is there's no reason for you to be there. There's no reason. There's nothing to look forward to during the games. But I digress. Anyways, as a paying consumer,
you want Bad Bunny to do the halftime show?
Hey, listen, I'll watch Bad Bunny.
What is this? Who is this guy? Bad freaking Bunny. What is that?
What are you doing Sunday, JJ? Come to the watch party.
This Sunday I'm gonna be in the Poconos. I'm going away with a bunch of my friends. We're going to the Poconos. But
say hi to George Santos for me.
But I just want to say this: they keep raising the price of the season ticket holders, and we're paying consumers, so we have the right to express our opinion about the head coach. And if we feel like the head coach isn't performing well, then we have the right to say that. It doesn't matter about who the head coach is, that he was a former Jet or whatever. It's a bad product. At the end of the day, this is a business. So as a businessman, Woody Johnson needs to look himself in the mirror and realize, I'm going to lose a lot of money because JJ, who's delusional, who just flew to London for no reason to go watch this team play, is thinking of not renewing his season tickets next year. And if JJ, who renews no matter what, is finally fed up, then imagine all the other people who are probably finally fed up. I mean, my God.
That's my point. That's why I think Woody will have to act if it remains this bad. If there's no real improvement here and they finish with 1 or 2 wins, I think he's going to be left with no choice. I don't know anyone who's renewing their tickets right now. And once again, you're right. If you're not renewing, that speaks volumes because you're one of the few who always is renewed.
But I will say this. If they fire him, I'm definitely renewing because that'll give me hope. If they don't fire him, I wouldn't be able to. I wouldn't be able to. I just can't because I know that we're not going to have a winning season next year if we keep him off.
That's why I would trade the number 1 pick at that point and get a bunch of extra picks for the next regime when Woody decides, I screwed up and I'm going to fire Glenn 7 games into next year, just like the Titans just did with Brian Callahan.
Oh, and Jake, can I say this though? So in my defense of Justin Fields and that terrible, brutal take, I will say that the play calling looks significantly different when Tyrod Taylor enters the game versus when Justin Fields is in the game. And I will also say I don't understand how a team who the pass rushers get into them constantly doesn't throw any screens to save their life. You can't throw one screen to Brees. Like you can't throw a screen. I don't understand it. I don't know that much about football, granted, as much as these guys, but they overthink the game so much. And when Justin Fields is playing there, he has no time in the pocket. There was times when Tyrod was out there and he had days. I mean, my God, so I don't know if it's, and it was a lot of times when they were going play action. How many play action passes did Justin Fields attempt in that first half? I mean, they don't run play action with him. How many design runs does Justin Fields get? I'm not saying that it's not Justin Fields' fault. I'm just saying the play calling by Tyler Engstrand or whatever, it was really good in the beginning of the year, and week after week it's gotten progressively bad. And a combination of Justin Fields sucking and Tyler Engstrand not calling good calls, and then with the defensive head coach, right? I know he's a CEO head coach, but what you got to realize is these guys who are defensive head coaches never have good time management because they never have to care about time management. When they're defensive coordinators, when do they ever care about the clock, right? So when they come as head coaches, like Todd Bowles, for example, or even Robert Saleh had some terrible time management as well. Aaron Glenn, it's always going to happen when you have these defensive head coaches who are you don't get to call timeouts as a defensive coach. Like the timeouts aren't for you. The timeouts are for the offense, right? In the 2-minute drill or the 4-minute drill or whatever the case may be. So we have to stop hiring defensive head coaches and expecting something different to change. So I'm glad we're all on board for trying to get big.
Well, by the way, can I just tell you one thing though? Because I see Dylan brought it up. They actually did try and call some of the stuff you're asking for, and Fields couldn't execute it either. So I want to be fair. I've been killing the Jets.
Fields held the ball was the moment I was over Fields. The tunnel screen wasn't to, so there's a difference between a screen to a running back and a screen to a wide receiver.
The point is they've tried some of the stuff you're referring to, and he couldn't do it because he's holding on to the ball forever.
Yeah, but throwing a tunnel screen to a wide receiver is completely different between Breece Hall running up to the offensive line, turning around, catching a screen pass, and going for 50.
Who should start at quarterback Sunday, Fields or Tyrod?
I think Tyrod Taylor should start at quarterback because I feel like they have more confidence as an offensive staff. When Tyrod, I mean, they were letting him throw the ball deep. He barely has an arm. He has a noodle for an arm. So he underthrew Allen Lazard, albeit he should have still caught that pass. But they believe in him more. They open up the playbook more with Tyrod. So just put Tyrod in. Like, Justin Fields is done. I'm sorry for him. You know, I had a lot of hope for him. I thought he was going to be the next best Jet, but he wasn't, unfortunately. So it's time to move on. Let's get this number one pick BS out of our heads. We gotta gain capital, trade out of the number one pick, hire Mike McCarthy, and turn this franchise around. And at the end of the day, next year, we can only blame ourselves if we're still this bad and Aaron Glenn is still the head coach, because we as a fan base need to riot. We need to go to the games with picket fences or whatever you call it, bags on our heads, holding up signs saying, give us Mike McCarthy. Woody, if you love us, well, you don't love us, but if you love money, give us Mike McCarthy, because that's going to bring in some more money next year.
For me personally, being able to ask other coaches that have been in a situation, how would they handle that?
Ladies and gentlemen, home stretch, then a raffle. Last chance to get in. Let's rip through these final calls. The Lup Man is next. What's up,
there
Luppy?
you go again, making me laugh before I come on. That was great, man. I love that. Thank you, Gator, for that. You have to bear with me a little under the weather. The Jets, I think, this week may be physically sick. And it wasn't the tequila, no Knobcraft. It wasn't that. No, but seriously, thanks, everyone. Thank you, Jake. Thank you for making the football season fun. Thank you for that tailgate. Even though the Jets suck and they stink, we had a great time. All the Asmaniacs together. What a community. Even my brother's just overwhelmed. He subscribed. We're blessed to have this. Imagine if that was great. We'd be just, forget it. We don't need to jump on tables. We don't need to do any of that. What we are true fans who care about each other, and it's a great community. So enough about that love and kiss stuff, which is all good. But he was talking about screens with JJ. It's kind of hard to throw a screen when a guy can't even throw an out pass. He'll probably get that thing intercepted for 6. So I don't think I think Entering took that out of the playbook and didn't design it that way. I mean, they need a little bit more over the middle stuff. Maybe a quick tight end slant will help all the pressure. They got 10 guys up at the line of scrimmage. It's kind of hard to throw a screen pass that way. I mean, that's just what I see. So he's not scheming it. Maybe we see it this week if Tyrod starts because he can actually throw down the field, which was open. And if he gets a week of practice, I think that's going to open some things up. I mean, they're not utilizing Brees. I mean, what was that about last week, too? That's crazy. I mean, I don't get any of that. Like I said, bear with me. I'm a little under the weather. So you see the spiral that we've been in for years. And we talk about, how you can pick the wrong quarterback up in a draft and how it can spiral a franchise. Well, this is the blueprint of why it happened. It all started with Zach and then hiring the wrong coaches, hiring the wrong people. I mean, what is Woody going to do now for some suggestive or some advice? I mean, the guy does want to win, even though he's been doing a horrible job of picking the people. But, I mean, we had the 33rd team. Everybody thought they were going to do something. And what are we doing next? Who's going to help him pick the right head coach if that's where we go? I said conspiracy about Glenn. I know I'm saying a lot of stuff. But conspiracy about Glenn, how they were trying to tank the season, how they picked Fields because they know he's not going to take him that way. I mean, it kind of seems that way. And it will be true if they keep him for next year. I just can't see keeping this coach for next year, because he hasn't shown any progression. He hasn't shown anything positive. Even Anstring, who we thought as a good offensive coordinator, is brought down so many notches. It's just, I don't see anything. And where's the light?
Well, remember though, right? And Luppy, excellent call, man. Spot on. And I'm so glad that you and your bro were able to make it on Sunday, because that was the best part of the day, hanging out with you and everyone. Like, to your point on Engstrand, he's coming over from the Lions, where Jared Goff was a pocket drop back quarterback. Engstrand's offense is rhythm and timing, get the ball out, all that. Fields has never been that guy. So there was that adjustment of, hey, Engstrand, are you able to coordinate an offense that we thought was going to be run first? He's never done it before. And that goes back to my whole point. Glenn hires his offensive coordinator. Then they pick Fields as the quarterback they want to work with. But Fields doesn't fit the offense that Engstrand is accustomed to being around. So once again, it's like the round peg in a square hole. So now you're in a spot where we have to put blind faith into Glenn if he doesn't get fired, and Engstrand if he's here again, that they can find the right quarterback that, like, you know what I mean? Like, they chose Fields and Engstrand as the play caller for him, but Engstrand's experience doesn't line up with anything. So I don't know. Win games. That's the easiest solution to figure this one out. But, the Jets aren't capable of doing that, which is the problem. All the people who want to defend Aaron Glenn blindly, how about he wins a football game? Is that allowed? Jake, what did you expect? I didn't expect the Jets to be the only team in the National Football League through 7 weeks to not have a win. I didn't expect that. And deep down, neither did you. Because if you did, guess what? You didn't. You're lying. You're lying. Just say, I lied. I'm an idiot. I lied. I'm lying to you right now, Jake. Say it, because that's what's happening here. More of your calls right now. Ladies and gentlemen, time to say hello to this guy.
For what it's worth, it's the trigger man. It's not the offensive coordinator. This guy cannot function in an NFL offense as a starting quarterback. It's become pretty obvious to us, right? We've learned nothing through the first 7 games. We've learned that.
I think it's at this point. I think it's completely fair.
Yeah. So, I was interested by JJ's call. I think the reason they stopped the Pee Wee football before at halftime is because the same reason that they wanted to have us sign a waiver to go down the field. They know that turf is a death trap. they lost 3 9-year-olds to the turf. So, but the other part of what JJ was saying, I think, was kind of, spot on. When you talk about Glenn, right? we all had our reservations when we saw the draft and some of the priorities that they had. We didn't get the depth of the skill players that we felt we needed. We didn't get the depth of the defensive line that we thought we needed. And then, there was a couple other things that didn't quite go our way. But this is before we get into the in-game management, which we've seen over the last few games, and ponderous moves at halftime, right? It's just it's time to move on from Glenn. For economic reasons, he's going to play out the season. But emotionally and mentally, I think that most in the fan base that are rational have already moved on, because it's not only the lack of out of whack priorities, but it was also his own rhetoric tripped him up, right? So you can't just say it's coaching that you call out previous staffs or other staffs and say it's going to be different with you, and then not deliver on it. That's the key thing. This guy is the victim of his own rhetoric, and he has no one else to blame but himself. And if that's perceived to be racist by some of your critics, then I think that's more of a comment on them than it is on you. It's not like you were defending Adam Gase for no good reason when he was sucking, or that's the kind of thing that drives me a little bit crazy about the world we live in the internet age, is people think they have this air of invincibility because of the anonymity that the internet provides.
Yep.
Right. And it's not that way. Life is not that way. This is 2025. The people in life that are actually ignorant enough to be actually racist are few and far between. Right. There are some people, that have inherent biases for whatever reason, but I don't think it creeps too much into everyday interactions, right? It's just a matter of they're 0-7. There are reasons they were 0-7. The proof has kind of been in the pudding with priorities, with some of these moves that have been ponderous, and you can't trust that he's the guy who's going to right the ship. Although I got to give credit where credit is due, and this might be more of something that's on Wilkes. The signs that have been encouraging over the last 2 weeks with the defense are great. I think that Sabo was saying before that he'll be interested to see how they do with kind of a real quarterback, a more experienced quarterback, and we might be getting that this week, because we have a guy with an older guy with a decent arm who knows the game, who's cerebral, can't really move around, but he knows how to take advantage of the rules, and the Bengals have sort of perked up since he's come in. So I appreciate your time, Jake, and don't let the detractors get you down.
Ladies and gentlemen, the great Kyle Clifton. Love it. Keep it rolling. But first, Super Chats. Last chance to get in for the raffle. This one is from Wrongberg. Keeping Rodgers and drafting Dart was the way we could have gone. Yeah, I'd be the first to tell you, I didn't want Dart at 7. I thought that would have been a huge reach. Obviously, he's looked really good so far. So, you never know about any of these quarterbacks. But I was good with Fields and, give it the year, draft a quarterback next year, because I thought they'd be able to coach up Fields, and with the offensive line and the running game, they'd be competent. I didn't think it'd ever be this bad. He's been Zach Wilson bad the last 2 games. Never thought we'd see that again. And look, I did say, if you're going to take Dart, either do it, trade into the first round, or take him in the second round. So I'm with you. But everyone who's watched the show knows that the 2 biggest things I wanted the Jets to do this offseason is hire an experienced head coach, preferably an offensive guy. But of the guys they spoke to, I preferred Flores over Matt Nagy as far as previous head coaches. They didn't even interview Mike McCarthy, which drove me nuts, or Gruden or Pete Carroll. But McCarthy was my number 1 choice. I wanted them to keep Aaron Rodgers because it also meant you had Devontae Adams. That was my plan. The idea that you build culture and lose, I think, is total BS. I think if you had Rodgers and you're winning games, that's how you build culture. But they didn't do it. And that's their right to move on from Rodgers. That's fine. But don't sell me on Justin Fields being your guy and this plan for him, and take shots at Tomlin's staff and the Bears coaching staff, and Fields is this bad. You look like an absolute fool if you're going to hype up your ability to coach up Justin Fields and now you're benching him 6 games in. And let's be honest, he should have been benched before that. He should have been benched last week. Once again, I'm going to find more of these clips, but this is the only one that I had on file. But there were so many clips just like this one from Glenn talking about what they're going to be able to do with Fields, and it just aged horribly.
He can galvanize a group of men. Listen, obviously he's a talented player, and listen, I'm happy that I have him as my quarterback. I really am, because I think the sky's the limit for this player. I really do. Listen, I'm not going to go out there and say that he's the next Joe Namath or anything like that. But I will tell you what, man, he's going to be a good player for us. And I'm excited what he's going to do for us this season.
To be that wrong is scary.
What do you look for in a quarterback? Like, what's an Aaron Glenn quarterback?
A winner.
Justin Fields is the worst winning percentage in NFL history of anyone who started that many games. That gives me reservation. Sorry. You can still believe in Glenn on blind faith. There's no evidence that he's a good coach. It's just he's a former Jet. You probably liked him when he played, if you're old enough to have seen him play, or you're just a Jet apologist and you'll never be critical of the team. But there's no, like, I'm looking for things to point to that I could say, okay, as bad as it is, I still think he could be a good coach. I haven't seen it. There's still 10 games for me to hopefully see it. Otherwise, I don't see the argument for not making this a one-and-done scenario. I don't want to do it, but that's the situation the Jets find themselves in if they're picking first overall. And recent NFL history shows you, if you don't do it now, you're going to do it at some point next year. So why are we delaying the inevitable and risking the development of our young quarterback we're going to take first overall? Why risk it? Some guys can overcome it. Other guys like Sam Darnold, he was the 3rd overall pick, wasn't first overall. He couldn't. They went from Bowles to Adam Gase. He didn't have a chance. Baker Mayfield in Cleveland. Why risk it? Let's go get a legit coach if we have the number 1 pick who'd want to coach him. That's the whole argument. Matt with a super chat. He's in the raffle for 2. You have to have a competent quarterback that can complete passes before the defense is going to bite on play action. Very good discussion with JB and JJ. We can agree to disagree and still break bread together. Yeah, that's what the Twitter mob doesn't understand. We have people with different opinions all the time on this show. All the time. We welcome that. Matt, appreciate it. You're in the raffle for 2 more. Spencer Green, all caps. It must be something insane. Woody's company makes a lot of products some of these folks could use. Some folks soft as Charmin. Hell, maybe not even Charmin. That dollar store toilet paper. Keep doing you, Jake. F the weak-minded. Spencer Green, you are in the raffle for 2 more. Thank you, my friend. Big Show. Ladies and gentlemen, this man met Big Show on Sunday and lived to tell the tale. It's time to say hello to the big fella.
He's home, his bed is on the bed. That's what feels good. On the road, his belly is on the bed. In a dirty hotel room. He calls the show, his belly's on the bed. He's just more comfortable. He got a beard, loves the Jets, SuperChats. He's a big fella, sleeps alone. There's no room on his bed. That's a big fella.
Hey, man. Just want to say that video that Gator made is amazing. It's really
funny.
It's really, really good, dude. I was laughing when I saw that thing. It's so funny. Love everybody at the game. Big Cho is not a chump. I'm telling you right now, he is not a chump. He's a great dude. And just like everybody else, they're really, really, really good people. You got another viewer because my cousin now is going to consistently watch the show, he says. So kudos to you and the community. Now, I agree with JJ 100% with the halftime show because actually the Pee Wee football people probably played good football and the Jets don't. So there's that. But the roster isn't bad. Like, we don't have a bad roster. The problem with our roster is that at the most important position, and this goes back to Zach Wilson being the quarterback too. We were saying the same thing. You can have all these good players, great players at other positions, but when that player is the one who has the ball most of the game, you're not going to do well. And since our quarterback really can't throw the ball at all, this is what you're going to get. Now, he did try to throw the ball long one time during the game, and he overthrew, I think it was Arian Smith. And even that was like really just awful. So we got to get rid of him. Tyrod's got to start the rest of the year if they want any shot of winning a game. Because like Robby said, with everyone, with the other teams, they're not respecting the pass game at all. And why would you? He's inept, just like Zach was. Maybe worse. He's inept.
He can't run. He's worse than Zach.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. And I'm officially off the Glenn train. I told you during the game, I was like, this motherfucker, he can't.
I watched Big Fella in the middle of this game really go from I'm trying to hold on and to losing Glenn completely.
Yeah. I lost my voice. That's why I couldn't call him yesterday because it was just that bad. I mean, some of the things he was doing was like unbelievable. Like there was one time when I don't know. I don't want to go to like single plays, but overall it was just terrible. And when you come in arrogant, you have to back that up. You have to, if you're going to come in and like guns blazing saying, oh, we're this, we're that, I'm a good coach and stuff like that. Well, you got to prove it. And he hasn't proven shit. He's proven nothing. Okay. And I was a big Aaron Glenn fan. And I was telling you during the game, I was like, God, I want to like him so much, but he's so bad, and it's true.
Well, it comes down to this, right? What is one thing the Jets do well right now? What is one thing that Aaron Glenn has made better since he's been here?
Yeah, exactly.
You can't name one thing that he does better than the previous staff. That was not a good staff overall. They had plenty of time to prove that they were a good coaching staff. They didn't get it done.
And they won a game,
I mean, yeah. Right. Honestly, I'm not sitting here telling you Robby Sabo was a good head coach, but he won 7 games with Zach Wilson, Tim Boyle, and Trevor Siemian. That's like they lost Aaron Rodgers 4 plays in. The entire team was built around Rodgers, and they ended up winning 7 games that year. They started 4-3, and then it fell apart. This team is 0-7. It's unbelievable. You want to say that Glenn could dance on the sideline? Okay, Kyle, there's a positive. He wins his challenges. Ladies and gentlemen, the team might be 0-7, but Aaron Glenn is 2-0 in challenges. That qualifies to me as a win.
I'm gonna do my silly dance, cause we're built like shit. What kind of a question is that? We have the moral victories. My team has no wins.
Woo! Yeah, and then when you build a team around Justin Fields and he can't do shit, what do you expect? For example, with the coaching, he was like, oh, they weren't coached right. What was Arian Smith's problem coming out of college?
He wasn't very good.
No, he couldn't catch the ball, right?
I know. I'm just saying, like he was projected to be a 7th round pick that they overdrafted in the 4th round, and now he has to play a ton of snaps because they have no one else at the wide receiver position.
Yeah, but he couldn't catch the ball. He was the one who missed it in the end zone, right? When you and Nick Shine were like, he tried to catch it with his body instead of his hands. That's coaching. Everybody knows that. Why aren't you teaching a guy who came out of college, who couldn't catch the ball, that was his big knock, to catch the fucking ball? It makes 0 sense. Now, last thing, these racist comments that are going towards you, that's bullshit. First of all,
it's a lot of them too. It's crazy. I've never experienced this before. That's what's so wild about it. It's like it's just people could just say whatever they want with no evidence, and it really is disgusting that it's allowed.
Bro, take it with a grain of salt. The term racist these days has 0 teeth whatsoever because it's all unintelligent people going for some word a trigger word that literally means nothing these days because people are too stupid to actually think of trolling insults. So they go towards that. Okay. Everybody knows you're not racist. Everybody knows, this community and everything like that. We have all colors, everything in this community. And that's why I love it so much. And for just take it with a grain of salt. It's all bullshit. Twitter's a cesspool anyway. So that's all I got, man. Looked forward to seeing you at the game, and I can't go to the thing on Sunday, but I hope everybody has a great time, and I'll talk to you again soon.
Ladies and gentlemen, the great Big Fella.
We're the freaking New York Jets, so we're shit.
One of the all-time legends in this community. OG Jets fan Tommy's on the line. Hey, Tommy.
Jake, what's up, brother?
I was just wondering how quickly you were going to jump back in the chair when I went to you there. Nice job.
Awesome. My TV's on a freeze, so I just saw me actually jump back into the chair. Yeah, it was cool seeing you Sunday. It was cool seeing Nick Shine, his son, Big Nick, little Nick, but he's big Nick. Everybody, Jade, and I got there a little bit late just because, and then I'll get into my 2 quick jet points. I'll be quick. As soon as I walked into the stadium, I found one of the golf carts that like Nick Shine was talking about, and I'm like, I need to get to lot E26. So as soon as I walked in, I was like, I don't think I was by L or something. And wherever I was at, it was still all the way down. So he brought me to lot 26, but not E26. And I was all the way by the old Izod Center across where I had to now walk the whole tunnel to get across to get back where you guys were. But the good thing was I walked and I saw like all the people there. I walked into Joe Beningo and his wife, Terry, and he was nice enough to take a picture, and I sent it to you. Hopefully he gets it. Saw you guys briefly. I think I got there like around 12 o'clock or something like that. But half of you all, I wish I would have met a lot more of you as maniacs. Got there a little bit late, my fault. But 2 very quick points, Jake. You can hear me clear, right?
Loud and clear, Tommy.
All right. 1, you fire Aaron Glenn ASAP. I mean, maybe like that means ASAP, let them go throughout the year so they don't make it an embarrassment of an organization like firing coaches throughout the year. But get rid of this fucking guy. Nothing to do about race. The guy just can't coach. He plays like he doesn't know what the F he's doing on the sidelines. Get rid of him ASAP, whatever that means. The year after they go 0-15, because I know they're going 0-17. And you get rid of Fields, bench his ass for the rest of the season, and cut ties with him after this year. Draft your quarterback, start a new regime, gut it from the fucking bottom up. And it was very nice seeing you again, Jake. Like, I don't know where we go from here. We got to lose out. Like, they ain't going to win. Even if we want them to win, they're not going to win. They're going 0-17. Maybe they'll win the last game when Buffalo sits everybody on their team because they're already locked in at the number 1 or 2 seed. Like, that's the only game they're going to win. They're not even going to beat the Saints. The Saints are going to whoop their ass. Guarantee it. And then one last thing, Jake. Justin Fields, he's like a worm. It's like watching a worm just try to crawl into dirt when it's a rainy day. That's what's I watch Justin Fields on offense. A worm. A big, lazy, fat, ugly worm. With no eyesight, no vision. If God forbid his legs get cut off like a worm would do, he just would wiggle right back into the dirt because you can't throw the ball. God bless, Jake.
What? That I have no idea what that means. But all right. All right, Tommy. I'm pretty sure he told the story yesterday when he called in that he ran into Beningo and his wife and took a picture. I don't know what that call means, but all right. Philly Noodles, please save us. You're the last call before we give 3 Jets fans, 3 Asmaniacs, 3 signed Jets items. What's up, Philly?
What was that? He's a worm with no legs. He can't throw. We know he can't throw the ball. We'd actually like if he ran the ball into dirt forward, at least instead of falling backward into dirt. JJ was killing me a little bit there. He was caping his takes. And I think what happens is he has a lot of good knowledge in his head, but he'll just spew some other stuff in between and then cape a take that you call him out on. It's like, dude, Ring of Honor. And then don't mention other quarterbacks as a possibility when, I'm not even going to get into my thing, but I'll get outed in the chat. But anyway, I think the worst part about everything that's going on is that, like we keep bringing in, is that Glenn promised certain things. He was arrogant about certain things. And he, as a coach, has not stepped up to the plate to make the right calls. Last week, you win the game. 2 weeks ago, you bring in Tavern, you probably win. This past week, you kick a field goal, and you're not playing from behind. You're playing to win at the end of this past game. Certain calls where he lost timeouts. Didn't kick a field goal when he had a long shot he could have taken 2 weeks ago. It's just a repetitive thing where he's not learning on the job. So the thing is, when people say, "Oh, someone's learning on the job," I've been on jobs where I learned it. I picked it up fast enough, and guess what they said? Hey, you're good at your job. We can't say that about the guy. And the fact that he has another half of the season to go, it's like we have to hope a miracle occurs where one player just stands out. It's probably going to be Garrett Wilson getting him a win randomly towards the end of the season to go 1-16. And if we go 2-15, 2-15 to me saves the season. 1 win is pushing his luck, and 0, he should just be fired. Period. End of story, no matter what. And I mean, those things have to occur. I'm with, I've been saying it for about 3-4 weeks now. We can't even take a number 1 overall quarterback, even though that's probably what would happen with a new regime. But it still should be draft capital. I mean, you need another wide receiver. It's that blaring. Who's going to be
do that in
available
the second
to
round,
is
though.
nobody.
You could do that in the second round. If you have a high, if you're
Granted.
picking first overall,
Granted.
pick 33 is like a first round pick extension anyway.
Granted, that's right. I still would like to acquire more trade picks, but at least the offensive line to me feels pretty set in, which is the most vulnerable thing going into a draft, right? When you're like, fuck, we got to take a lineman. That's all we've been dealing with. Now you're like, all right, we just got to take a number 1 overall quarterback. If that's what happens, I guess. And like you said, take the wide receiver high. You can even jump back in with draft capital and draft a wide receiver at 20 something if you felt that good. Tight end looks like it's locked in. It's just, I mean, it's kind of disheartening, and I don't even want to blame Muji. That's where so between, myself and you, someone who speaks to reporters and have people on, that's what I'd like to know. I want to know the inner workings of what's going on. Is Muji just sitting for the ride, having to deal with what Glenn's telling him? Because that would be alarming. That would be where
Well, that's kind of how it was set up. I think obviously Muji has input, and he's the one running the draft, the scouting. He's talking to the scouts. He's Aaron Glenn coaching the team doesn't have time to review what in-season kick returners they could possibly add after they cut Xavier Gibbs. Muji's the GM, but because Glenn, he can't do everything as the head coach. I covered the Texans and I was in Houston. Nick Caserio was the GM of the Patriots without the title. He did a lot of the GM stuff that Belichick couldn't do because he's coaching the team during the year, right? But any major decision, who they're drafting in the first round, Glenn has final say on something like that, even if Muji is the GM, right? Hey, we're moving on from Rodgers. That's a Glenn decision. Hey, we're going to go after Justin Fields. Muji could say, I'd rather Kirk Cousins. If Glenn says, I want Fields, that's who they're going to sign. So, it's no different than how it was previously set up where Douglas had say over Saleh. It's just in reverse where the head coach has more authority than the GM, which you see other teams in the league do. What's interesting with Glenn in this scenario, though, is very rarely do first-time head coaches get this much power. Kyle Shanahan got it when he got hired and got a 6-year deal by the Niners and brought John Lynch with him. But most of the time, the coaches who have power, they have to earn it over being there a while. Mike Vrabel got power in New England right away because he's Mike Vrabel.
He's been around.
Andy Reid has power in Kansas City. Pete Carroll had power in Seattle when they hired him. It's rare a first-time coach has, the full say of the organization.
And you know what? Here's 2 more takes I'm going to take real quick. It is funny how around the way quarterbacks, someone who's been around the market, has got a little better, like Sam Darnold. He was paired with a first-time head coach, defensive dude, this year. And look at them. So it has to make us think, not us, Woody has to think, this dude is that bad right now. He's just that bad. It's unfortunate, but he is. It doesn't matter if he's a Jet. He's just that bad. Period. End of story. And last thing I want to say is I hope the media, Rich Cimini and everybody, keeps cooking him to let him come out. You know what I mean? And let's see.
They've been pretty. They really haven't yet, though. They haven't really cooked him yet.
I'm saying I hope they cook him. I literally hope they cook him because the fact that he had the media against him because he's coming out of his character saying things he shouldn't even. He needs a PR rep. It's been bad out of him, and it's kind of odd that he would even take that route. I understand Bill Parcells, feelings, but you're not Bill Parcells. And Bill Parcells was around the block by the time he got this job and was talking how he was talking. It's 2 different people, 2 different scenarios. And I think that's where he's lost his way about himself. And he better hope he pulls out 2 wins. 1-16 or 0-17. He's got to get canned.
Dude, you think about what you just said, though. He better pull out 2 wins. 2 wins. That their win total was 6.5. Honestly, he might survive if they win 2 games. I don't know what Woody's thinking, right? None of us know. but he shouldn't if they only win 2 games. Like, they got to win it. To me, I've always said they got to win at least 4 games here because that's what Saleh did with a way worse team in 2021. Zach Wilson, Mike LaFleur in his first year as a play caller, no Sauce, no Garrett, didn't have Jermaine, didn't have Brees. Go look at that roster. That roster won 4 games. They stunk and they still won 4 games. This team's
Corey
not going to
Davis.
sniff 4 wins.
Corey Davis looked like Pickens and Lamb. You know what I mean? Like if they had Corey Davis on this team at that point, the way he was playing. So the last thing I'll say, I'm sorry, one more last thing. It's so bad how inept he's been, even with like the roster management problems. Because if we were in a scenario where in the beginning of the season they said, "Hey, Brees is going to be thing where he's traded," he cocked himself from that moment when he kept letting Allen take out kickoff returns, where he damaged the kid, and now he can't even return. So now you're stuck in a catch-22, where if you trade your best offensive asset beside Garrett Wilson, you're fucked. And if you don't, you're fucked. So either way, it's everything's so bad. It's so many bad things. He's got to go at the end of the season. I just hope it just gets done, and we go. Oh, dude, we all wanted Vrabel. I was with Flores or whatever was coming, but this is just, yeah, man. I don't know.
Philly, hang in there, all right?
Sucks.
Just remember, it's all about coaching.
We saw a lot of that. The speed last year, we saw a lot of with Will.
Yep.
The spins, the coming around the edge. The power that he put on, I don't know if you need the replay if you haven't seen it yet, but he went over him at one point. Is that even a new element to his game when you said he added some weight?
Coaching.
Is that now what he can do?
Coaching. It's coaching.
How so? Like, what do you mean?
Because he can do it. You just said he's never done it last year, right?
Not much.
Now you see him do it. It's just coaching. That's all it is.
I think we all love that if you then go out there and back it up and you win games, right? But this coach has not won a game. And what really drove me nuts about what Aaron Glenn did, I went to the game in Tampa. He's talking about how they're not the same old Jets after that game. Coach, you were down 23-6 at halftime. Stop. You needed a Todd Bowles special to get back in the game. The Bucs committed 14 penalties that day. They were missing 3 of their 5 starting offensive linemen. Mike Evans got hurt in the fourth quarter. He didn't play down the stretch. Will McDonald needed to make a once-in-a-lifetime play to give you a chance to have the lead, and then your defense blew it. You couldn't even win the game after that. Couldn't even steal it. And he's telling us you're not the same old Jets. And then they follow that up and don't play. They follow that up and get down 17-3 and commit 13 penalties against the Dolphins on Monday Night Football. And the Dolphins, other than the Jets, are the worst team in the NFL. And the Jets lost to them, and it was a blowout. The Jets scored late to make it a 1-score game for the onside kick. They were not in that game. So that's when he really started to lose me, right? Where it was like, oh, my God, we got a real problem here. Don't tell me you're not the same old Jets when you fall to 0-3 and then follow that up with a debacle on Monday Night Football. You get destroyed by the Dallas Cowboys. You go to London and lose because of his coaching decisions. And then this past game, I'm sitting there, and it's just like you're just numb. They don't do anything. They don't score. They don't score points. Oh, 7, man. Crazy. The Festa in the house. Shout out to Festa, the head of the Tampa Bay Jets fan club. He says, thankful for the 20 or so OG fans in Tampa, or else Gaspar's would be a ghost town. Can't believe I got to throw a party every week to root for this bleep show of a team. Hang in there, Festa. I saw this when I lived in Houston, and my friend Alexis, who runs the Houston Jets club, I'd be one of the only people that'd still be going by the end of the year. Like, we start out, you get this huge crowd, and then each week it just dwindles. But this is the quickest it's dwindled. Because 0-7 is 0-7. Crazy. Festa, you're in the raffle for 2. You're the last person to qualify before I spin the wheel. And because of that, we play this for you, Festa. What a night that was, huh? 300-something Jet fans as maniacs packing gas bars the night before the Tampa game. Oh, man. Woody's comments today confirm AG. Oh, God. Did he give him a vote of confidence? I do believe in Aaron. If I were a player, I'd respond to him. There's no BS. There's no agendas. Jets owner Woody Johnson, who speaks to Aaron Glenn every day, he tells him, keep the faith. Woody Johnson at the owners' meetings, I do believe in Aaron, said he has hope for the future as things look bad right now. The offense is just not clicking. You can't run the ball if you can't pass the ball. I mean, look, the bottom line is this, folks. Woody's supposed to come out and back his coach. I'd have to look, but I'm pretty sure Kraft did the same thing with Mayo last year around this time. Woody says you can't run the ball if you can't pass the ball. So congrats to Tyrod on unofficially being named the starter. Woody says, I see what you see, but I see more hope than you do. Says Aaron Glenn has turned around parts of it. No, he hasn't. Come on. I mean, Woody could say whatever he wants to say. Woody said if we could just complete a pass, it would look good. So do you think Woody is going to feel the way he feels right now if they're 2-15 at the end of the year and he says to Aaron Glenn, why did I pay Justin Fields $30 million if he can't complete a pass? The owner has to say this. If it keeps looking like this, then he's not going to be able to say this at the end of the year when no one renews their tickets and the Jets go out there and they win 3 games or less. It's not going to happen. If we could just complete a pass, it would look good. You know what's funny about that quote? Other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, how was the play? Look, what he could say whatever he wants right now. He has to back his coach publicly. But they're going to be 0-8, and it's going to be 2 weeks of one-and-done talk if they lose. If we just could complete a pass, those are the words of the owner. Well, you got rid of Aaron Rodgers, Woody. He threw 28 touchdowns last year and 3,800 yards. Woody says, keep the faith. I do believe in Aaron. The offense is not clicking. You can't run the ball if you can't pass the ball. All right. I mean, look, this doesn't change, I think, anyone's opinion. I mean, ultimately, we will see if the New York Jets could rally around their coach and win some games here so we don't need to keep entertaining the one-and-done talk. But, I mean, that's what the owner's supposed to say. He didn't say he's definitely here no matter what. Things change, man. You go 2-15, or God forbid, you're the first team to ever go 0-17. Things change, and things change quick in the NFL. Stands for not for long in this league. Remember that. Ladies and gentlemen, time to give away 3 signed Jets items. I will have more thoughts on Woody's comments on our second show later because I got to fully listen to them and formulate all my thoughts. But it's time to give away some prizes. Let's do it.
It's time to announce the winners of the weekly Asmaniac raffle. Let's spin the Jake Asman Show Wheel of Champions and find out which Asmaniac is winning an epic prize.
Oh, baby. We have not 1, not 2, but 3 raffle prizes this week to give away. Prize number 1 is a signed Broadway Joe Namath helmet. Prize number 2 is a signed Wayne Corbett football. Prize number 3 is a signed Jermaine Johnson jersey. Pretty cool, huh? That's because you guys make it all possible. So thank you for that. Wouldn't be able to do these raffles for almost a year already without you. I believe this is raffle 45. Raffle 46 will start up on our second show this afternoon, but we need to reward some winners. If you win, you only can win 1 prize per raffle. You got to email me your name and address so I know where to mail it to. Ladies and gentlemen, the Namath helmet winner is Omar Singleton. Congratulations to Omar. Omar, I don't know if you're a Patreon user or not, so shoot me an email, asmanjake@gmail.com with your address, and I'll get that sent out to you this upcoming week. All right, Omar is your first winner of the Joe Namath signed helmet. Who's going to win a signed Wayne Corbett football? We find out now. DBZ JC. DBZ, your second winner. All right. Let's do a third winner, shall we? Our last prize is a signed jersey by Jets Pro Bowler Jermaine Johnson. Amanda Madison. She gifted 10 yesterday, and she actually won. How about that? Amanda is the winner. I'm sure she will definitely get a frame for the Jermaine Johnson jersey. It's her favorite player on the team. Just kidding. It's probably Garrett Wilson because she loves Ohio State. Hit the Jet chant. Congrats to our 3 winners. Omar, DBZ, Amanda, your 3 winners of this week's Asmaniac raffle. We'll start up a new week of memberships and super chats towards the top prizes on our second show. Joe Blewett's the guest. We might not do a ton of film with Woody speaking today. We'll just react to his comments and talk more about the state of the team. On that note, that does it for me. A nearly 3-hour show. You would have no idea that this team is 0-7 if you just looked at the engagement, the views, the support from the community. And for that, I'm grateful. Thank you all for that. Let's all hang out together this Sunday and watch our crappy football team together. Jets, Bengals, get a free beer if you show up in Jets or Asmaniac or Jake Asman show gear. Right down the street from Penn Station, Goldies Tavern, free RSVP. It's a free event, and you get a free beer if you show up. So let's have some fun. Great halftime raffle coming for that as well. Beningo will be there. A bunch of Asmaniacs will be there. Maybe we watch the Jets get a win. That would be nice. Until then, though, I will talk to you guys soon. Jets, 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 Jets. Take it away, Dream.
Jets, Jets. All right, let's go.
Oh, hi. Jake wants me to ask you to click on the like button.
That's right, Lane. And if they don't subscribe to the Jake Asman Show, this team may never win another game. Let's go, Jets.